And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to our Pokemon Market Talk with a very special guest today. We have Alex, also known as NostalgiaNomics. Thank you for joining me and Jesse today, Alex. We are super excited to have you on. First of all, congratulations on reaching another huge milestone as a content creator with over 25K subs on YouTube. Your Ribbon
Wow.
ship is thriving, the Patreon is growing, and your viewer count is doing better than ever, Alex. It's all
Appreciate that.
very impressive to see how far you've come because I witnessed it when you were at the bottom and you fought your way to the top without any fancy video edits, just with you simply talking and sharing your opinions and insight about Pokemon market in front of a camera. Very simple. But you've certainly surpassed many content creators who doubted you at the beginning. And I remember those days. And those who doubted you are actually now practicing what you preached. So you're obviously doing something right. And we would love to hear more of your perspectives later into the discussion. By the way,
Yeah.
everybody, be sure to check out Alex's link down in the description. Make sure to follow him on social media and check him out. So we'll keep the discussion civil and answer some questions as we go, and then towards the end as well. So the brief overview for today's discussion: the Pokemon hobby in 2025 is already off to a crazy start. Overall, demand remain high without enough supplies for fair distribution of the Pokemon TCG. And allocations for LGS is spread thin. The average collectors can't get their hands on products. Big box retail store shelves are mostly empty, and Pokemon fans often find themselves paying MSRP or more. So the burning question is, how do we collect or invest at the peak of the market in 2025? And then we will also be addressing some recent issues, but I will turn it over to Jesse and he can lead us into today's discussion topics.
Yeah. So it's an honor to have Alex NostalgiaNomics on. Like PokeSun and I, we're both huge fans of yours. And honestly, the community you built around Pokemon investing, which used to be kind of like a taboo topic 5 years ago. Now I feel like you're a big part of making it accepted in the community and talking about it as an alternative form of investment. As a professional investor myself, you know, it's really it's a breath of fresh air because I used to talk about it in my circle of real estate investors, crypto investors, tech company investors. I'm like, hey, like you guys should look at Pokemon cards, and they just laugh at me. They're like, oh, Jesse, like, man, you and your playing cards out of here. So I don't think you even realize how big of a impact that you've had in that aspect, not just on your own channel, your business, but the community as a whole. So yeah, thank you on that end. And I just wanted to quickly touch on some of the hateful comments that you've got in the last week over one video that you posted, I believe a few days ago. And as someone that's experienced internet bullying and harassment and mental health issues myself, I just want to say, like, shame on the people that started attacking Alex based on one take that you don't agree with. And again, we're going to break down what the video talked about later on in our episode, but like there's only one or two things that I think was taken out of context. And I do agree that the comment on people should go back to the 9-to-5 jobs if you can't enjoy Pokemon sounds a little bit insensitive in today's economy. But overall, like if you watch the whole video, Alex is being very candid and talking about his experiences as a Pokemon collector investor over the last 10 years, and definitely did not deserve the personal attacks, the death threats, all kinds of crazy things that went his way, because the people that are trying to take it out on Alex or just trying to find an outlet, and it's shame on you because you're affecting someone else that's done great things for the hobby. And again, we'll talk about like the investors and if we're terrible for the hobby later on, but shame on you, and stop attacking people. If you don't agree with someone, just feel free to talk about the issue that you don't agree with, but don't get personal in the comments.
Yeah, and obviously I rewatched the video. I've watched some of the videos people have, said about me and other clips. And then what I did, I just reached out to others that I'm friends with in the hobby and just friends in real life. And I said, you know, give me your honest take. You can be real with me. You can shoot me straight. Just give me it all. And most people were like you, they couldn't really figure out what was so bad about it, except like you said, a couple things that could be considered insensitive. One of my friends said the optics of it, of like filming in front of all the cases on that video, maybe it wouldn't have hit so hard if it was filmed on like a couch or something with no product. And I understood that. And then I think just the timing of it, like I probably could have released that video, you know, 6 months ago and it wouldn't have had any effect. But I think just the timing of it in this market is probably, it probably was poorly timed, or, you know, some of the things I said were poorly timed. So, you know, there's some, obviously, you know, no one's perfect. And someone came in the stream last night and said, you know, I normally only agree with about 80% of what you say and 20% I don't. And that video is about the same. I agree with about 80% and 20% I don't. And I said, honestly, that sounds like a healthy amount. I don't think anyone should agree with 100% of what anyone says. And it leaves just a little room to disagree and, you know, keep things a little spicy and something to discuss. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, if there's people out there don't agree, I agree with you. You know, come out and say it, make your videos and give your takes. But yeah, man, some of this online stuff is just, it's wild these days.
Yeah. Yeah, so getting past that, first of all, I agree with everything that you said. Like, we need to just talk about the things that you don't agree with and bring with points, instead of saying, "Hey, this guy's a terrible person. You're the reason why my kid can't get cards or whatever." Like, that shit is just, it doesn't make any sense. So just only talk about the issues that you have with the video, not Alex as a person. Let's break down kind of like what you talked about in that video, because I think you bring up some excellent points. So you've talked about how it took you like years to really get to where you are now, but realistically, you've only been doing it for 2-3 years. I kind of talked about my experience is pretty similar. But my wife and I started the shop in 2020, and it wasn't until 2024 that really took off. We did 2.5 million in sales last year because, with the burnout, we almost closed down the shop. And then I utilized some of the digital marketing stuff that we did with our other companies, and the shop really blew up. And last year, people have been very supportive over time, but a lot of people started attacking shops for charging more than MSRP and things like that. And it just really got to me, because we're not really being attacked. So we're trying to sell most of our stuff at MSRP and below market. But I know a lot of friends that did own shops that only got 1 or 2 like prismatic ETBs, not even like 1 or 2 cases. Some shops only got 3 to 5. And then you got these people really attacking their character, calling them scalpers, greedy, all kinds of things. It really broke my heart. And you touched on a lot of that, and basically telling people to stop complaining. Because I think at the end of the day, we need to put it into perspective. Pokemon cards are not essentials to your livelihood, right? Like, we can do without Pokemon cards for 6 to 12 months. That's what I've been telling people too. I think it's healthy for the hobby, for some people that don't like the current state, to just take a break for 6 months and come back later, right? I think that's totally a valid point, because if you're online and you don't understand how business works, and you attack everybody that's bringing like space to the community for people to buy, sell, trade, that's really trying to make an honest living, because you can't charge MSRP for product that you only get 5 to 10 of, right?
Yeah.
So everything you brought up, I agree with. Like, people that didn't get the message just don't really understand the market and how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think like just any hobby, it's like that. Like, whether you play sports, whether you have anything else that you do outside of, you know, work or whatever, I think anything can kind of get dry, get boring. You could start to like have things you just dislike about it. It almost becomes like more of a chore, or something you feel like it's like a routine, something you have to do every day. And if it becomes like that, that was kind of my point. Just walk away for a little bit, you know, get some fresh air, touch some grass type thing, because this isn't something you need to be in. And it's here to cause you joy, not to cause anger, frustration, or hate. And so that's kind of, that was the real point. Again, said some things the wrong way. We're all human, but that's really all it was.
Yeah, really. Like, if you don't agree with the price, like, first of all, like, one of the other points that you made, obviously, the delivery saying that people should work harder and make more money, like, maybe it sounded insensitive, but if you think about it, I'm gonna put it into perspective from my personal experience. Like, obviously, I'm very blessed and privileged to be able to afford most of the materialistic things in life. I'm a huge car guy, for example. I've owned pretty much every supercar you can think of, but I can't afford to buy, like, let's say a Bugatti Chiron. I hate to say this, but is it my fault or is it Bugatti's fault for having a car that I can't afford? It's kind of like you don't sit around and see people asking like, hey, Ferrari, like, oh, why are your cars so expensive? It used to be affordable. Or like Bugatti, like, please make it more affordable. This community
Well,
sucks.
you could turn the question around, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
if no one is able to buy the car at that price, what's Bugatti
Yeah.
gonna do?
Exactly. You're going to lower the price. But at the end of the day, it's not really, you can't really blame the people that are selling. Like, you can't go to like a Ferrari dealership and be like, you guys suck. You guys are scalping. These cars used to be like 100 grand. Now it's 400 grand. Right. You work harder. I know it sounds insensitive, but sometimes like with these non-essential and luxury items, well, I see it as a luxury because you don't need these things to survive. I don't really understand the anger. Oh, I mean, maybe that sounds insensitive. I do understand the anger, but you have to put it in perspective. And one of the things I like to talk about is I see a lot of these comments under your video and Reddit. There's one person, I think it was under one of your videos, like, oh, I love 151, but I've given up the fact that I've come to terms with the fact that I will never be able to open a pack of 151 with my kid because that ship has sailed. It's so expensive now. In my head, that doesn't make sense because if you're being genuine and you're talking about how much you love 151, but you just never had the opportunity to open it, what were you doing 6 months ago? Right?
Unless you just weren't in the hobby, I guess.
No, I know, but this is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't want it when it was cheap. That means you didn't really want it now because you only want it now because it's hyped up and everyone's talking about it and you're having FOMO. But you're talking about how this is like your favorite set. You wanted, like, your dream was to open it. Well, they were $4 a pack for like a year. So the people that are complaining that they can't afford to buy them now weren't in the hobby when just 3-4 months ago when they were going below MSRP and pallets were sitting at Costco for the UPCs. I think it's very disingenuous because sometimes they don't even realize, but they're blinded by the fact that even them, they were just driven by FOMO. And you probably don't want it as bad as you think you do if you didn't buy it when it was cheap. And that's how you can combat FOMO. Really look back and reflect and see, did I want this when I could afford it? Because at some point it was affordable, but you know, that's my main point.
I'll just give my last take and we can let Lee talk a little bit. But sorry for cutting you out. But so I guess the reason I felt like, almost like I could talk about what I talked about is, I mean, Lee knows, like, you grew up in somewhere near me, right, in Missouri?
Yeah, exactly.
So you know where we live. Like, it's a very middle class area. Grew up very middle class. Everyone has different opportunities and privileges in life. I understand that. There's people that grew up in much worse situations than I do. And yeah, I had privilege to have parents and, a good school to go to and, clothing and shelter and food, 3 meals a day, all that. So I'm not saying I didn't have privileges, but I didn't grow up with any money. My parents never gave me any money. Like, after I was 18, I haven't had one bit of financial help from my parents at all. And so it's like everything I've done in my life, like, paid my way through college, worked in my lawn care landscaping business. After I got out of college with my degree, I just expanded that business, had different businesses among the years. It took sales jobs. Like, with whatever bit of money I scrapped together, I invested it. I put it away. I didn't, go on vacations, go to concerts, blow it on, sports cars, whatever it is. And I slowly, steadily, and methodically grew and grew and grew. And it's the same way I've done it on this channel. And so it's like, when people see things and they start seeing investments that you have, they see positions, see your businesses, it's like, this doesn't happen overnight. No one gave me this. I'm not speaking down to anybody. I'm just trying to give everyone, like, this is kind of what it takes to get there. I had to do much more than work 40 hours a week at my job. I had to do, 2 and 3 different jobs or, run businesses on the side and, take risks. Other people don't want to take risks. I had to take risks with investments I've made. And it's just like, there's a lot that goes into getting places. And that's kind of the only real thing I was trying to get through in that video, which again, may have come out wrong to people, is that, if you want to get things or get somewhere in life that you're not at, you want to change your situation, it takes more than just complaining about it or wishing the world was different, wishing things were more fair. I wish things were more fair too. I get it, but unfortunately they're not. And the only way to get yourself out of situations sometimes is you. And that was the main point of the video. It got way misconstrued, but that's all I was really trying to get at in it.
Yeah.
No, I think most of the viewers are overly sensitive. I think as humans, we as people want to be listened to, and we tend to gravitate towards people that are relatable to us. And it's hard sometimes for people to relate to you when you said the optics of you having a background of seal products may look different, and people make assumptions based on like very surface level appearance.
Well, if they watched the whole video, they wouldn't have assumptions. He talked about how you built it up over 10 years, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey,
they
we've
just
all
didn't.
seen Rudy videos with the mountains of cases. I remember watching him back in like 2017 when I was buying my first modern case, putting it on a shelf. Like I could have said, "There's no way I'll get there," or I could say, "Hey, got to start somewhere." You know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
I think people were looking for someone that is have the ability to empathize under certain circumstances. Like in my profession, one part of my job is to just listen and empathize with my patient and their family. You know, working in the ICU for nearly a decade, I often have to engage in like end of life discussions that can be difficult to navigate. So part of the reason why I like a Pokemon hobby is to escape. But along with that, I get to engage with people all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, because we have this hobby in common. But with that also comes with differences in opinions, and I think the problem in this digital age is that we don't empathize and try to understand each other first, and often we make assumption based on the way what they see on a surface level, and content creators to content creators, we need to talk to each other more instead of talking past each other. And as viewers or fans of a certain channel, we should try to engage more positively. At the very least, don't make personal attacks based on socioeconomic status, appearance, race, or gender. That's internet bullying, which is why we have a mental health crisis in America. So I encourage everyone to be part of the solution and not the problem.
Yeah. No, I agree. And a lot of people, like Alex said, they see the cases behind you. They don't see the years of work that you put in. Obviously, we can't. I can relate to that too. Like in 2017, 18, people all of a sudden see me with all these like the cars and the real estate and the properties, the companies I invested in. They don't see that I sold one of my early stage companies in 2016, 17, and put pretty much all my liquidity into a down payment for a property real estate project, and bought 500 Bitcoin in early 2017. Right, like to me, that was in my head, it was a statistical certainty that will go up. All my friends thought I was going crazy. They're like, "This he's fucked in the head," is basically what they said. But I mean, they don't know the type of risk that we take to get to the current place where we're at. And obviously everyone likes to say, "Oh, this guy must have rich parents," or "That person got super lucky." But you know, the reason why,
which I mean, that's fine. People can say we got lucky. That's fine.
Yeah, no, definitely luck is
that's
a huge part of
take.
it. Yeah, no, luck is a huge part of it. I often say like the difference between me and the person that's homeless on the street, the only differentiator is I got luckier than him, got dealt better cards in life, which is true. But at the end of the day, like you can't just like take your entire video out of context. I do think the message is right. The delivery could have been better, but yeah, people need to listen to what you're saying instead of just taking a couple of lines out of context and making content about it. So
yeah, everyone sees the results. No one sees the risks.
Yeah. And just to wrap it up, I do think if you absolutely hate being in this hobby and you hate not being able to get products, that's not going to change until after the 30th anniversary, I think. So again, like this is a privilege that we can even enjoy Pokemon cards as adults. Like you're already in a position of privilege if you can even think about buying shiny cardboard for your enjoyment to rip, right? So you don't need this as much as you think you do. I really think taking a 6 to 8 month break, the peak will pass. And the market is cyclical. The times where the Walmart and Costco and Target shelves are stocked and some Pokemon products are on sale and Pokemon products are below MSRP again will come back. And I just hope at that time, not everyone's going to go like, "Oh, Pokemon's over. Like this IP is done. Like we've seen the peak. It's never coming back up again." Wait until that time comes and see if you still like Pokemon. I think that's like a great test to see if you want the product as much as you think you do. Yeah, I think it's great advice. We should actually see that.
Here, and before we switch subjects, I guess I'll go ahead and piss people off a little bit. Look, I don't have kids, so I'm ignorant, but I remember being a kid. It's okay to tell kids no sometimes. It's okay to say no sometimes. It's okay to buy them 1 or 2 packs instead of a whole ETB or box. It's all right. It's okay. We'll get by.
Exactly.
Just cardboard at the end of the day.
The kids will like Pokemon more if you do that, because okay, so I grew up in a Asian family. Like my mom's a typical frugal Asian mom, and people like I didn't understand you could buy a booster box or an ETB, whatever, back in the 90s. So there were no ETBs, but I remember my mom gave me a quota. She's like, you get to buy 1 pack of Pokemon cards a week, and if I was bad, I got no packs, right? So grew up in my childhood, and also like I would go to the shop and my mom would see a 99-cent Spanish fossil pack and like a $2.99 base set unlimited pack, and I wanted the base set pack, but my mom will always buy me the 99-cent pack because she's like, that's the same. I was like, it's not the same. So I
You
grew
wanted
up
Prismatic, and she bought you Shrouded Fable.
pretty much like French Shrouded Fable. So I grew up in terms of like Pokemon products and scarcity, right?
Or
So
we would always get the Tops packs. Your parents would always give you the Tops cards. You'd be like, this isn't the same. And they're like,
Yeah,
they're all
no.
Pokemans.
It's like, it's Pokemon, it's cheaper. Yeah. But I grew up even loving Pokemon even more because when I was a kid, I was trying to buy these Charizards and I couldn't buy them, right? I kept getting victory bells and stuff. So I mean, at the end of the day, just tell your kid, be like, yeah, it's not the right time to buy 10 packs. I'll buy you 1 pack a week. Like anybody can afford like $5 or $6 on 1 pack a week, right? So it's not as bad as people think it is.
Yeah. Okay, so changing into our next topic. So there's currently a massive supply issue that starts at the top. I know someone talked about it in the chat. So who are we really to blame? Is it the streamers, LGS, distribution, or is it Pokemon Company? What do you guys think? What is the problem? Does it start from the top?
I mean, I don't have enough information to make any positive statements, right? There's a lot of conspiracies about distributors right now holding back product and then selling it for more, later on, or, not releasing all their product, kind of investing themselves because they know about the market. And then obviously, you could say it's a problem, but rip and shippers are just, opening more packs than before. It's still people that can, because rip and shippers are ripping it for consumers. And so it's still just consumers, regular people opening packs. It's just a streamer doing it for them instead of them doing it themselves. Like those packs are going to get opened one way or another. It's just, I guess, making it easier to open the packs. But yeah, I would say obviously Pokemon Company not printing enough. The demand is so high that it's hard to, I would say, regulate. Like if they start to do we buy an entire new facility or open an entire new thing up and then way overprints, and then we end up with a situation like we did in 2022 where there's way too much product and no one's buying it because it's oversupplied. So I think there's always a line to be tread there. And then there's probably something, fishy going on with distributors, which is maybe why Pokemon's trying to branch out to more MJ Holdings, product giving to them, more GameStop and all this other stuff. I think it's a little bit of everything. It's part of the problem, like always. But yeah, it's very clearly there's a product shortage. There's just not enough to go around in general. And so I think we have to look at Pokemon first before we look at what everyone else is kind of adding to the problem.
Yeah. So my take on this is has been changing over the last few years. I would say for the average collector or the investor, they blame the shops, right? Because all they see is, oh, the shops are charging over MSRP. And I have a thing about MSRP police we'll talk about later. But to continue with the conversation, the average collector will say, hey, the shops are the problem. The rip and shippers are the problem. These guys are charging over MSRP. They're greedy. And then from the shop level, a lot of shops are very pissed off at distributors. Like I was one of them. I was like, these distributors are holding back product. They're selling it to us for over MSRP after only giving us peanuts in the first wave. The distributors suck. And then over time, we built up to one of the biggest distributor accounts here in Western Canada. So I've had a pretty close relationship with our distributors. And I talked to them. I was like, hey, you guys can't keep doing this to us. And then he started candidly talking about how the Pokemon Company only gave them 2,800 booster boxes of Surging Sparks for the entire country. And this is universal distribution, the largest distributors in Canada. And they got 7,000 for the set before Stellar Crown. So he's like, hey, my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. And then I was like, hey, but how come the US always gets a second wave when the reprint comes and we don't? And then they talked about, hey, they showed us like, hey, like we were to get second wave of Surging Sparks. Pokemon Company packages it with the equal amount of stuff that we can't move. So that's why we just eat the cost and then sell it to you for this amount. It's really tough for this distributors as well, is what they told me, right? And then maybe distributors will get mad at Pokemon and they're like, hey, Pokemon, why are you guys screwing us over like this? At the end of the day, I think Pokemon is obviously to blame for the most part, more than distribution, shops, rip and shippers. But this is a matter of circumstance and it's capitalism at work. Because just like you said, it's not easy for Pokemon. The reason why Surging Sparks was short printed was because in 23 and 24, there's a lot of early Scarlet Violet sets that weren't selling. Like I remember we couldn't give Paradox Rift away. And so they have to print to demand. But for a big company, a big printing facility like that, you can't just all of a sudden print more, because when you're printing less, the facility is actually being like rented. They took on contracts to print other stuff, right? You have to like finish printing the other stuff before you can ramp up on the Pokemon printing, because there's cycles to this. So there's usually a 3 or 4 month delay with ramping up the printing process or ramping down the printing process. So Pokemon is having a hard time keeping up with demand as well. So at the end of the day, like it's a long-winded way of saying that I don't think it's anyone's fault. It is just how the market works, right? It's not just in Pokemon, it's in real estate, it's in everything. And I don't want to say like the scalpers and the rip and shippers that are selling it for 4x their cost is not to blame, because obviously those people have to share responsibility. But this happens in every industry. People were scalping eggs at Costco, right? People were scalping toilet paper. It's just human nature. So it's really hard to just, and disingenuous to just point the fingers at one group of people and say, hey, it's the investors, it's NostalgiaNomics, it's Jesse Pang, it's Pokesun, right? Like you can blame your, like we share equal amount of blame with everybody else in this industry and in this market. And
well, here, think about, I mean, you have an LGS, so here's what people don't realize. If you used to get 1,000 boxes from Pokemon and you used to get them for $90 and you can sell them for $95, you're making $5,000.
Yeah.
Now you get 100 boxes and you can make $50 on them. You're making the same $5,000. So everyone thinks these card shops are getting rich off them. It's like, no, they're just trying to keep their bills paid because Pokemon's giving them this much now instead of this much. And so, yeah, they have to make a little extra because they don't have anything else to sell.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people don't see. And the prismatic evolutions, people think, oh, some LGSs got it tough. They probably only got 100 boxes. No, like I talked to our distribution and he said the average LGS got anywhere between 5 to 25 ETBs. So this is supposed to be the hottest set of the year in Pokemon. And let's say your LGS gets an average, let's say they get 20 ETBs. And MSRP to like wholesale is let's say they make $15. If they sold it all at MSRP, that is $3,000. No, that's $300 in profit, right? That's $300 in profit. You can't even pay rent. You can't pay employees. You can't pay your bills. How are they supposed? The reason why they had to charge market, which is let's say it's $100 over MSRP, that's still only $2,000 for supposedly the hottest set of the year, right? Even that, they're just trying to survive. It's not as simple as people think. You can't just, people think the distribution is like an infinite, it's like a magical place where shops can just get infinite products at wholesale. That's not the case.
Well, Alex would know because he recently got a distributor not too long ago, but he's really not getting much of anything from what I'm hearing.
Well, from what the online, people would think is I just get endless amounts and I can sell it for 4x MSRP when realistically every single thing you see me sell my pack breaks was all bought at market price.
It's crazy.
A little under market because I work, deals with people for bulk and it's off eBay TCG players. So I get a little under market, but basically I'm paying market price. Any little sliver I get from distribution, that's my investment. So like I got five ETBs of prismatic evolutions. I got 0 blooming waters from distribution. I got 0 mini tins. I got 0 mystery boxes. So like
got nothing.
I'm not getting anything.
Nothing.
Luckily, I'm in Pokemon USA's distribution program, so I'm getting a little more than that from him, but not much. And so it's like I didn't get in when the getting was good and build my spend account, so my spend's low. And again, that's fair, right? I don't get any. That's fair. The big guys do that. They built a relationship, and so I'm stuck going to the open market like everybody else. And hey, if my prices aren't fair, then just don't buy from me. Is what I tell people. But I feel like Rip and Ship sell two things. It's the packs, but it's also the entertainment, right? And so like,
experience.
there's an entertainment aspect there.
Yeah, the people don't
Yeah.
understand because ripping packs with friends is super fun, and not everyone has the privilege of having like 10, 20 friends to enjoy the rip with them. So when you're in a community like NostalgiaNomics, and then you have 120, 300 people in the chat ripping and experiencing those polls with you, that experience is worth money.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why you have 300 plus viewers at all times, and people always come back to you. And there's a reason for that, because you bring the entertainment value to them.
Yeah.
I try to keep it fun. I mean, I know it's so hard for people to actually believe that you can, kind of be in it for the money, like as a business, trying to make profit, trying to invest and see appreciation on your investment and collection, and still actually enjoy the hobby and have fun with it and want to collect yourself. Like I know those two things are not supposed to coexist, but they actually do. Like all of us, we enjoy the hobby. We also want to see our collections go up. We also see financial gains in it. They can all coexist.
Yeah.
And be honest, we all did coexist really well for the past few years. It's not until the last few months where it really got out of hand.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
And for the people that are crying again, like the people that are saying, "Oh, I don't care." This is another comment. I screenshotted this under your video. It's like, people like us, we don't care about the value of our products. We just want to open some packs. Not like you guys. Well, again, like if you didn't care about the value of the products and you only want to open packs, where were you like 6 months ago? You weren't here until your products or these packs had high value, because you weren't interested when they were cheap. So that's why it's very hypocritical for people like that to talk like that under your videos and attack you. And okay, so I want to briefly go over the MSRP police situation. I want to get your take first, and then I'm going to talk about my take.
The MSRP police?
Yeah, like the people like, oh, the shops have to sell at MSRP. If you sell over MSRP, you're a scammer. I
actually made a joke on my videos. I said, hey, listen, if you guys want to sign a contract for 1 year that you will pay MSRP for every single product, let's do it. Because what they don't get is a lot of people calling for MSRP. I don't think they understand booster box MSRP is 161. Because I think most people that have been in the hobby for a while now, they would consider 161 overpriced or like a ripoff at release, when that's actually MSRP. And so I don't think people actually want MSRP. They just want lower market prices. And I get it. Like, here's the thing. I'm on everybody's side here. I think Prismatic Evolutions being that much out of the gate is ridiculous. I think Surging Sparks being 250 this close to release is ridiculous. I think those products being worth that in 2 years makes sense. I think right now it's ridiculous. So it's like, I just think people are upset, and they're just, they're using talking points they hear on, some social media on what someone else said, and they're just repeating MSRP because it's an easy thing to repeat and sound like, you can throw it at somebody. But they don't want MSRP, in my opinion. If they did, here's the thing. Before this boom, what you talked about 6 months, a year ago, why could you go to every Target and Walmart and there was product on the shelves?
Exactly.
They weren't being bought because they were being bought online. So then it becomes, well, Alex, people don't want to buy online, or they want to buy in store. Well, then why were they all buying online before and they were sitting on the store shelves? Why is it just now they're complaining they're not on the store shelves? It's not that they're not available, because everyone shops on Amazon every single day for everything they own. They definitely can shop on eBay or TCG Play for product. It's just the fact it's more expensive. So I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of like an every person for themselves economy. I mean, it's just nature of how it works. But like, when you're complaining about MSRP, you're not really complaining about MSRP. You're just trying to pay less, because the same people that are saying you have to charge MSRP when it's over MSRP, they're crickets when it's under MSRP for the majority of the last 30 years. And people don't understand, like, even with the Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon era, MSRP was $144. And that's when you could have bought like Fusion Strike and Chilling Reign Battle Styles for $85, $90, which is like below wholesale for the majority of 2022 and 23. And 161 being the Scarlet Violet MSRP, you weren't paying that until Surging Sparks and Prismatic Evolutions. It was well under that. It was like $100 to $110 for most of the Scarlet Violet releases. So if you want to pay MSRP, you want to be the MSRP police, I just pray that you'll keep that same energy a year from now, 2 years from now, when the bull market is over and there's a bear market and market is cyclical. It will happen. I don't care what anybody says. Those days will come back. And I want you to keep the same energy and be like, hey, shops, you have to charge MSRP. Why are you charging $120 a booster box?
Well, another great thing, PokeCenter remembers in the Discord, what was like the most popular topic in the Discord early last year? It was sets and Sword and Shield selling out at Pokemon Center. So these sets had been sitting on Pokemon Center for 1-2+ years at MSRP. No one freaking bought them because the market was cheaper. As soon as the market crept above it, then it became a big like meme, like everyone rush Pokemon Center, buy out Brilliant Stars, Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike before they go up. And it's like, well, why didn't they want those at release? Because, well, they were $190 at release. They weren't, $140. And so people just want cheaper prices. They're just saying MSRP because they have nothing better to say.
Yeah.
So. I don't think prismatic ETBs are going to be at MSRP because if you watched Brian's latest video, PokeNE, latest video from him was about the prismatic ETBs being $95 at distribution.
It's 110 USD for Canadian LGSs. For us, it's
Canadian or USD?
USD 110. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we have the 7%
charged more there.
A lot more. We have the 7% tariffs. Well, now it might be 25% because of Trump, but we our wholesale is like 7% more than you guys. Like for the Sword and Shield era, it was around 95 USD, where like I think you guys have it like maybe 88 or something. And for Scarlet Violet, it's been like 100 USD for wholesale distribution prices. So it's quite a bit more expensive than the US.
But it's all kind of relative. People they pay more for the box up there.
No, they pay the same. So it's a lot tougher over here for sure. We were
crazy.
The way that I see it is like for the majority of 2022 to 23 to 24, like a shop selling a new Pokemon product is pretty much community service. It's a way to get the playables out to the open market. It's a way to really get the kids to come and rip packs, because you're making like $5 to $7 a box gross profit. You're not talking about like you're not talking about rent, your employees, your bills. You're breaking even. You have to like buy a lot of slabs and singles and kind of make money doing that. But yeah, so people think. My wife, CJ, she actually made a video about this because it actually happened. There's one guy that came in, this was like a year ago. And then he was like, yeah, well, why are you selling it so expensive? It's like 115 USD at the time. I think it was Paradox Swift. So CJ asked him, it's like, how much do you think we pay for this box at distribution? And shit you not, he said $50. That's what most people think, right? They think shops pay half of $110 or $100, and then we have to show him our invoice from distribution, and he couldn't believe it. Like the look on his face, the look of distrust on his face, I still remember to this day, because he thought we like photoshopped it or something.
I mean, you guys watched Shark Tank before, right?
Yeah, of course.
Could you imagine pitching an LGS on Shark Tank? All right, so we get them for 90, we sell them for 95. Like that's your margin. Get out of here. Like, it'd be ridiculous.
Yeah,
and our customers get super mad at us when we make 25% gross margin. They will call us all kinds of names.
I don't know how to fix that. The public perception doesn't seem it's ever going to change.
Yeah, I don't know how LGS is going to sell prismatic ETBs at MSRP if it's costing $95 at distribution for them. So it's not going to be at MSRP. It's going to be.
So I think there's we talked about this multiple times on our channel. So I think prismatic evolutions, like for investors, you have to look at historical trends and comparables to kind of like find something that correlates with the current product to kind of have future predictions. For prismatic, I think it's very similar to Hidden Fates in 2019. Like people compare it to Shining Fates, but Shining Fates would be what prismatic would be if it was if it was like a worse set. Shining Fates and Hidden Fates were printed for many years, printed to the ground, but What did Shining Face do? It fell below MSRP and didn't really recover over it until 3 years from release, which is now. Hidden Fates, it got printed and printed and printed. It was at $200 at release, went back down to maybe like 100, 120, never fell below 100. So I think Prismatic is going to follow a similar trend to Hidden Fates, where you will see price reductions and corrections every time they do a massive reprint. And they're going to print this for many years. But for the people that are waiting for it to fall back down to $50, I don't think that'll ever happen.
Hidden Face is the perfect comparison.
Yeah. It's too strong of a set to ever be a $50 ETB. So for those of you that are waiting for a $50, we actually sold a lot of our Prismatic at MSRP back to our community to kind of like help people get more product. But that was like out of the kindness of our heart. I don't think that's going to ever happen again because we're not going to get it from distribution at $30 a box ever again. So don't wait for that. But also don't go crazy and buy them at $160 because there will be reprints, small reprints, big reprints. I think a good buying price would be like around $100. Hopefully that becomes a reality in the next like 6 to 12 months.
That would be the hope.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are we taking this
But
question?
as of
What is
right
this?
now,
Oh,
I can hear like an echo. But for now, like, what would you guys recommend to buy for the amount of demand and lack of supply? What products can people buy that are relatively like on a cheaper price point than the current secondary market price of 100 plus or 250 for a Surgeon Spark booster box? What else can they buy instead, or focus on instead of buying those boxes at market price?
well, I mean, Shrouded Fable was a good play, I think. I mean, just like, you know, when you're investing, you're looking around at the market and like you're trying to draw like comparisons to other things. And like, you know, one of the big comparisons right now is PC ETBs have been, you know, doing extremely well. And so the fact that Shrouded Fable PC ETBs were still on Pokemon Center and now they just went off, like that was, you know, kind of one thing you could have noticed. Another thing is like Crown Zenith, right? I see Crown Zenith and I see the ETBs over $100. I know the promo has been doing some funny, you know, buyout type things, but even the promo is still under $10. And so if I'm looking at an ETB and it's 110, the promo is under $10. That tells me the packs are worth $10 a piece because they're in an ETB. But then you can find, you know, secondary market sellers of all these Sea and Sky boxes for like $5 to $6 a pack. You know, those seem like, you know, relatively good deals to me if you're wanting to be on packs of Crown Zenith. And then, yeah, any of these boxes that are taking dips right now in Sword and Shield, if you don't have a Sword and Shield position and you see things taking 10 to 15% drops, like I think Lost Origins doing that and some of the others, you know, it could be a time to move in. Again, like we talked about earlier, it's always a risk. None of us are sitting here telling you this is the exact right time to buy. This is the bottom. But, you know, after price drops, after things stagnate, those are usually the good times to buy, not when things are on the run or at their highs. And so,
Exactly.
you know, some Sword and Shield boxes, Crown Zenith, Shrouded Fable still cheap. I just picked up more Paldea Evolve just because I like the set. I believe in it. I think it's got a low possibility of a massive reprint coming still. And I just wanted to have a larger position. So I've been buying that. But yeah, I agree. I would stay away from the Surging and the Prismatic right now and see if we can get some cheaper prices.
Yeah. I want to put everything into perspective because I talked about my experiences buying at the previous peak, which is 2020 and 2021. There's always things that you can buy in a peak market that other people aren't looking. And in a few years, you're going to look at yourself and be like, hey, like, I'm glad I bought some of that stuff. In 2020, I remember we bought a lot of Unbroken Bonds, Cosmic Eclipse, some Team Up, a lot of Roaring Skies and Primal Clash, because those two sets were super available at the time. Those are XY sets that were on sale for $3 a pack at like every GameStop, at every card shop. It was like $3 to $4 a pack until late 2021, I believe. Right. And now they're 20, 25. There are sets that people don't look at as very desirable sets now that you can buy and enjoy and hold on to that will bring you much higher returns than the newest and shiniest sets now. And again, you don't have to buy at the bottom. Like Crown Zenith is a perfect example. I've talked about Crown Zenith as my favorite set of all time because I think it's the perfect set in Pokemon to have when it's a combination of high enough pull rates for the good cards, but low enough pull rates for the individual hits, because that's what keeps the single prices and slab prices up. There's so many good hits in the Galarian Gallery and even in the regular illustration rares, and I mean trainer gallery cards and the gold cards, that to pull any like specific card, it's really tough. But because the art is so beautiful across the board, it is a very enjoyable opening experience. So I've been talking about buying Crown Zenith and Paldean Fates and the Japanese products like Shiny Treasures EX and V-Star Universe for like the last year, because people are sleeping on it then, but they will realize how amazing it is to open these sets down the road. I would love to open Crown Zenith. My goal is to buy 50 cases of Crown Zenith ETBs. I think I'm at like 15 or 20 right now. So I'm going to buy it at current prices because I believe in it. And, you know, I don't care if it goes up because I want to rip it whenever I want 5, 10, 20 years from now. And going back to the Primal Clash and Roaring Skies of 2020 and 2021, there are many sets that you can look back that are not being hyped up right now that potentially people will have nostalgia for 3 to 5 years from now when it's not available. Sets like Battle Styles, like Vivid Voltage, like maybe not Darkness Ablaze, but like a lot of these sets that are still $3, $4, $5 a pack, under $5 a pack. Again, you're like, oh, those sets suck. But everyone said Primal Clash and Roaring Skies sucked in 2020, 21. Look where they're at now. In 3 to 5 years, it's not going to matter. When you buy a pack from the Sword and Shield era for $3, that is almost, I hate to say this because this is not financial advice, but it's the closest thing to guaranteed money and returns as it can get in Pokemon.
It is.
So you can look at those sets.
I mean, dude, I can't think of another set in Pokemon that's more fun to open than Crown Zenith.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Generations being really fun with the Radiant collection. You always got tons of hits out of Generations. Hidden Fates was obviously super fun. Celebrations is cool too, but I mean, I just feel like Crown Zenith is the most fun set to open.
Yeah, absolutely. And Paldean Fates as well. People are sleeping on that set. You got a set with Shiny Charizard not being the #1 hit. You got the Bubble Mew, you got the Gardevoir, right?
Oh,
It's a gorgeous set. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous, and people were sleeping on it for a long time. So I think if I were to, first of all, buy what you enjoy opening and buy the things that you enjoy, even when it's not worth any money. That's a #1 advice. But #2 is if you want to pick stuff that has long-term potential, I would say Crown Zenith and Paldean Fates, because these two sets are very, very underrated due to the print run and how available it was for a long time, but they won't be in 2 to 3 years. So those are the sets to go for instead of your Prismatic and Surging Spark for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. And for me, I think Celebration is underrated. I mean, if you look at the singles from this set, the Umbreon Gold Star, the Shiny Magikarp, I mean, like the Umbreon Gold Star was like a $20, $25 card about 3.
Did you get any of those?
I did. I bought a whole bunch, but because I really like Umbreon, the card itself, and so and that card actually went up exponentially if you guys pay attention to the singles market.
Yeah, I think financially, like in terms of investment, Celebrations is a very safe way, because if you follow the market back then, Generations was like super cheap all the way up until 2021, around the 25th anniversary, and then it went up from like, what was it, like $80 in ETB to like $600 pretty much over the span of two months. So I'm not saying the same thing will happen for the 30th anniversary, but usually when the next anniversary set comes out, that's when the last anniversary set will go crazy. So Celebrations is, from an investment point of view, I think a pretty good bet as well. And you can count on them not reprinting Celebrations for sure.
Yeah. It's about $100 per ETB right now, right? On the secondary market. So I think it's a good entry point.
Yeah.
And since Evolutions is just like so out of reach to pull that Charizard now, it makes the most sense to try to pull that Charizard artwork. It's the next best reprint, Celebrations.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go into like the stuff that you're selling right now, because I think it's really important for investment channels to talk about not only what to buy, but what to sell at different points of the market as well. I feel like at the end of the day, like it gets pretty redundant where every Pokemon investment channel is talking about just buy every sealed product that release and then stash it away and you'll make money. But not a lot of people give specific advice on buying and selling. So like what are your sell signals right now?
Well, not too long ago, I did sell Surging Sparks, and one of the reasons is a couple weird reasons. One, it's not as popular. It wasn't as popular on the rip and ships as I thought it would be. So I way overbought Surging Sparks. Again, another set I didn't get much for from distributors. Me and Pokey Plumber went on a big deal and bought a ton of cases bulk from somebody. And I had cases coming from a bunch of different places. I ordered from different online sites, pre-order here, pre-order there. And I had, just tons and tons of cases of it. And, by the time the first 2, 3, 4 weeks came and went, I wasn't opening as much as I thought. And I had tons of cases left. And that was about the time it reached like the 240s, 250s, whereas where I finally sold. And my rationale was just, okay, I don't need this much product for rip and ships. I don't want this large of a position right now in Surging Sparks. And I still had all these extra cases. And so I sold like 10 Surging Sparks cases at that $240 price point just to, kind of reduce the size I had, because it's my feeling a reprint will come and I'll be able to get in at a good enough discount, in my opinion, that's going to make sense. And then I've been selling a lot of my slabs. So a lot of the alt arts, a lot of the SIRs and illustration rares that I was grading, over the last year. When I get my graded card orders back, I basically look at the market and I just make my own determination. There's no like formula, there's no price point. It's just all by feel. If I feel the card is not selling at the price point I think it should be near, I just put it in the safe. And then any of the cards that I feel like are a good profit, they're reasonably priced, I think it's a good time to sell, I'll just sell those immediately. So I'll flip the cards immediately out of the grading, and then I'll put some aside. So like, a few months ago, alt arts were going to the side, these illustrations, special illustration rares, like all the stuff we're talking about, like the Paladin Fates, Mew and Charizard, the 151 SIR cards, like a lot of these cards just seemed completely undervalued. And some of them I'm holding still haven't gone up. Like, I'm holding some of the SV base, like the Miriams and Gardevoirs, and then some of the Paldean Evolve, like some of the legendaries and things haven't really moved much, but I'm holding them. Like Temporal Forces, SIRs, I think are undervalued, like Paradox Rift, Roaring Moon and stuff. But everything else, that's went up 200, 300, 400%. I'm just starting to sell all those, all the alt arts, all these SIRs that have went crazy, and realizing my gains. And so really it's more slabs than sealed right now. I haven't really sold any other sealed products yet. And I would say it's okay to sell right now. It makes sense, right? Because all the gains we've seen. But for me, it's just, I don't need to. And at the current price points of Sword and Shield and some of these early Scarlet Violet sets, I don't see the prices coming down, even if we have a reprint or a downturn, enough to make sense to, sell here and then be able to buy back in on a position later. I don't think there's probably enough meat on the bone to actually like recoup fees and shipping and all that and make it worth it. And I want to have the position sizes I have for the future. And so like, that's the reason I'm not selling. But if you need a dollar cost average down and you want to try to take some money off the table, you're a little, too, risk on and stuff like that, it makes sense to sell. With me, I'm able to take a little more risk than I did before because I have, a little bit more built up in the hobby. And so I'm holding more than maybe I used to. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just really selling slabs and I moved some Surging Sparks. That was it.
What about you, Poke-san?
Well, right now I'm not really doing too much movements, but I do plan on selling some of my slabs. I'm holding on to the seal products, like Surging Spark. I just feel like even with the reprint, it's not going to be, it's just not worth the hassle. Right now, I feel like with the reprint, the price have not really dropped at all. Like you can go on Walmart. I was just looking at Walmart today and they were selling Surgeon Sparks for $200 from GT Collectibles, which is a branch of MJ Holding. So the price haven't dropped despite the restock or reprint or whatever it is on the Surgeon Spark. So I'm just going to hold on to my seal products. And then with the several slabs that I do have, Sword and Shield, alt arts, like Moonbryon, VMAX, those are the ones that I plan on getting rid of.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree on everything that you guys talked about. We are huge advocates on the Sword and Shield era alt arts and PSA 10 because of their crazy high pop, the FOMO that's surrounding it. maybe some market manipulation, but we're not going to talk about that here. Those are some of the position. If you have a large position in the all arts, it's not in your personal. First of all, if it's in your personal collection, don't sell, because there's a lot of cards in my personal collection that I wouldn't care if they fell to zero because they mean special to me, right? But if you're talking about investing and you want to put your collection dollars better somewhere else, I do think now is a great time to sell your Sword and Shield era all arts. Actually, now is probably a bit worse than a couple weeks ago because it was probably perfect then. We've talked about this for a long time, and I even made a video on our channel saying the modern market will crash, kind of like a pretty sensationalistic topic. But I was talking specifically about that block of modern all art PSA 10s. I compared them to the PSA 9 base unlimited Charizard in 2020 and 2021, because modern is popping now the same way vintage was popping back then. And the PSA 9 Unlimited Charizard had unlimited pop, just like the Moonbreon. It's 13, 14, 15,000 copies in a PSA 9. But people love that card so much, it went up to $5,500 at its peak, right? People are always wanting basic Charizard. It's our childhood. Yeah, but they don't want it nearly as much as people thought they would. That's why it went all the way back down from $5,500 to $800. And now it's climbing back up to like $1,500, $1,600. I'm not saying that Moonbrown will fall to like $800 for a PSA 10 ever, but I do think it will follow a similar trend where there's going to be a pretty aggressive correction in a few months to a year. And I always think about this because history will always repeat itself. I'm pretty sure you watched Top 10 Pokemon, right? He made a video a few years ago in 22 about the top 10 worst investments of 2020. He will make another video in two years about the top 10 worst investments of 2025. And what do you think is going to be on that list? I think it's going to be the Sword and Shield all art PSA 10s. And that's why I'm saying
the only thing I would ask,
sell them.
Do you think the Moonbreon could be the one that rises above just because
an outlier,
of the
right?
mania around it?
I do think the Moonbrown would perform better than all the other ones just because of its separation from the group as like the base set Charizard of modern Pokemon. But the sheer amount of the availability of the PSA 10 specifically, I think it will cause people will move on to people are like, oh, the collector community will always want the Moonbrown. What is 5 million collectors compared to 14, 15,000 copies? I would say people change because they wanted the base set Charizard the same way that people wanted the Moonbrown now 5 years ago. Who knows what people will want in the next 3 to 5 years? I think the Moonbrown will always be iconic, but it won't be the most hyped up card or investment in the hobby for the rest of time, like people predict it will, right? It's very iconic. And in 10, 20 years, when this generation of kids become 25 to 35 years old, I think there will be another crazy surge because that is their childhood. But to think that the Moonbreon is a good buy at $3,000 for a PSA 10 that's pop 15,000 is absolute lunacy to me. So if you talk about, people are like getting in, it's like, oh, the ship has sailed. I need to buy it now. It's like, no, the ship will come back to you. It will come back to you. So I would say
that means for like Evolving Skies boxes.
I think sealed product though, like it's completely different because, like you said, people are opening these boxes at an unprecedented rate, right? And the Evolving Skies booster boxes will always be something that people want to rip, whether the Moonbreon is $3,000 or $1,500. So there's not as much sealed cases of Evolving Skies on the market as people think there is, because I would say like maybe 100 cases are being ripped a day on stream and in private. So even though I do think there will be a correction with a lot of these sealed products, they will be a lot less volatile than the cards or the slabs themselves. But I would also have to say, I'm not talking about people like you and me where we don't need to sell. We can just keep it long term. And at the end of the day, you can go through the volatility if you're not going to sell in 3 to 5 years. But there are many people in the hobby that needs to turn a profit and they need to get new inventory. And it's okay to sell. that's why I really wanted to talk about how like getting in at certain points at the correct times is important for a lot of people, because most people can't afford to hold on to their inventory for 2 to 3 to 4 years. No, most people aren't passive investors. So now is not a good time to buy Evolving Skies or Fusion Strike or Lost Origin sealed product, because I think in terms of the return and the risk to upside ratio, I do think those sets will experience stagnancy at least in the next 2 years, where Crown Zenith, Paldean Fates, or even sets like Vivid Voltage, Astral Radiance, like the sets that are less popular, that are at a way lower price point, you're probably, in terms of investment, better off putting your money into those sets right now and selling some of the Fusion Strike. We actually sold, I believe, 3 or 4 Fusion Strike cases and 6 to 7 Lost Origin cases, and I think 2 or 3 Evolving Skies cases in the last couple of months, just because I thought it was a good time to sell those sets and put the money towards a lot of the sets that are a little bit cheaper, and some of the newer sets like Crown Zenith and Paldean Fates. And it kind of worked out well. But I still have 16 cases of Evolving Skies booster boxes. So I still believe in that set long term. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with selling at its peak. And that's kind of like what I wanted to get across here. It's okay to sell sometimes, especially in this market.
Let me get your guys' take on something. So I have a little thing to talk about. This is something I've been like thinking about and kind of racking my brain about lately is, when we're investing in anything, right? And I know like we're gonna kind of like drown out we collect stuff for the art and all that. We're going to talk about strictly investment, right? With the new price points right now, I think that's the one thing people are missing is just saying like, well, I'm going to hold it 3 to 5 years. So it's okay if I buy a box of $200, it'll be more than that in 5 years. It's like, well, that's not the point, right? The point is when you're investing in something, you're asking, do I think this is one of the best places I can put my money right now? And for me, I think if boxes are this high, it really throws off the average returns that we're used to seeing in Pokemon, because we look back at Sword and Shield and we're saying, well, look, these boxes are $200 and $300. You're up 100 to 200% in just 2, 3, 4 years. This is great. Well, what if these other boxes right now go through reprints and they're $200, $300 still in 3, 4 years, right? And it's just like now your money's been sitting stagnant for 3 to 4 years, where who knows what the S&P is going to do? Like you were in Bitcoin, who knows what other, real estate, who knows what everything else is going to do in that same 3, 4, 5 years. And I think that's what people need to understand, and why it's dangerous to buy like, some of these boxes at $250 when they're brand new, is because the math isn't going to work the same as buying boxes at $80, $90, $100 that did before. And so like, that's what we really need to be careful about. Like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay. So I was talking to a couple of my friends, Gem and Pokemon specific, about this. I know his name is kind of being dragged through the mud right now, but yeah, the prototype situation. With Gem Mint? So he has a large position in the fake prototypes that were being sold in the last little bit. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, this is kind of a digression from our topic, but I was supposed to buy his beta set for $750K when it first came out. He like offered it to me before anybody else. And I was very skeptical because they were all like gem mint and pristine condition. But good thing I didn't do it, because shit got dumped onto the market and 5 different people wanted to sell it to me. When they made the videos on those prototypes with Gem Mint and Shiv, not Shivam, 100 Charizards, Caleb Swag, all those guys, they were actually coming, like they were staying with me at my house here in Vancouver. So we had literally sets of these things on my dinner table, and they were filming content. I looked at them. I was like, there is absolutely no way these things are real. I told Gem Mint to his face too. And then he's like, well, Akabane said it was real. But then I was like, hey, Akabane is the one that's selling you these cards. The fact that CGC went to Akabane and asked them if they were real, this is a conflict of interest, because he directly benefits from these things being real. Right. So there were so many red flags. I was telling him, he's like, yeah, well, like CGC Akabane says it's real. I think it's real. But, turns out I was right. I didn't make a single piece of content on those things when everyone at the house was literally drooling over it, because every video you make of them, you get like 500,000 views. Yeah. And I did not end up buying a single one, because I couldn't put my name behind it. There's no way these things are real because of how like pristine condition they were. Yeah. And they ended up being fake. But anyways, back to our previous topic. So Gemma was asking me my opinion on like when to sell because he's starting his Pokemon business. So I actually think because as an investor, you have to look at the average, like the return, right? The rate of return when it comes to putting your money into a product as pure investors. I'm not talking about collecting. So when people compare sets like, oh, Team Up is better than Evolving Skies is better than Fusion Strike, that's not the right way to think about it because timing is really important. I think sets like Team Up and Evolving Skies are not great investments, even though they're better sets than pretty much everything that's available on the market right now. Just because in order for Team Up to double to $6,000 a box, that might take 2, 3, 5, 10 years. Who knows? Or it might be next year. But my opinion, the likelihood of Team Up going from it's 4,000 to 8,000 is a lot lower, and it would take longer time than for battle styles to go from 120 to 240. Does that make sense? So most of the sets, I believe in the first 5 to 6 years of release experiences its highest rate of growth. Where if you are a pure investor, I think it's good to sell the boxes when they are at around $500 USD, unless it's like a crazy set like Evolving Skies, where it has the legs to run up to 2,000-3,000 within 5 years. But it's almost always better as an investor and your rate of return if you keep buying boxes at $100 or $110, $120, whatever the new norm is. Once using the money that your previous $500 Fusion Strike, a Lost Origin has and put it into to that, because it would probably generate you a higher return. So I do think if you want to invest and make this into like a pure investment play, it's good to sell Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, Evolving Skies, and Team Up now and go into some of the newer sets once the market calms down and it becomes $120, $130 a box.
Yeah. Right now, I feel like my hands are tied because I cannot get any boxes under. And so with Surgeon Sparks being at 200 in the secondary market, I'm not going to make any plays. So right now, my personal strategy is just to save. I'm waiting for those 120, 130 price point booster boxes.
Yeah, and many people don't understand, like, whether you're an investor, a collector, or a shop, we're all on the same team. Like, we all want the market to calm down and normalize. No shop wants to see product go for 2-3x MSRP and not being able to get supply from distribution because, number one, like Alex, like you broke it down, you're not making any money from selling 5 or 10 prismatic ETBs at $150. You're not making money. Number two, not only are you not making money, people hate you, right? And not being able to keep product on the shelves looks terrible for your business. So all of the shops are waiting for this crazy Pokemon boom to calm down and normalize. Same thing with collectors, same thing with investors. We're all on the same page. The people that say that the shops and investors and rip and shippers all want this, pump this market so it goes even higher, that's not true. None of us want that. We all want this market to calm down a little bit, which is why guys like Alex is actually telling people, hey, if this is not for you, take a break. We're not saying like leave forever because Pokemon's always going to be here. Take a 6-month break. Let's say 30% of this market of these consumers takes a 6-month break. That normalization will come sooner and it's better for everybody. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's like going to the rip and ships, right? It's like people think like, I want, prismatic packs to be this expensive. It's like, it's actually way more risky for me for them to be this expensive because I have to go to the open market. I don't want to overbuy because what if a big, massive reprint does come or some of these new products that get released are a ton, the pack price drops a ton, I could actually be losing money. So I have to like always kind of time my buys and then like make sure they're almost sold out before I buy more, pay people for express overnight shipping to get them for the next stream because I don't ever want to like get caught, right? Whereas like in normal markets, you buy from distributor, you make a little bit on the packs. It's widely available. You're not worried about the market crashing any lower because you got it at distro pricing. And so it's a way more healthier. Same thing for investing. I mean, it works out better when the product's widely available. You don't have to rush to invest. You don't have to try to like catch these Pokemon Center drops or all these like pre-release drops. You just go buy and in the first, 6 months, a year, little at a time, as you want to. You have all the time in the world. You can save up, whatever. Everyone likes healthy markets. I think, probably investors and us as rip and shippers more than anything. And I just think that's the biggest lie being told right now is like, we want this market to be this way. I agree. It's complete trash.
Yeah. We have limited GIF saying, how about buy 2 cases, sell one at double to get your money back. Sell 3 booster boxes of the last case at 500 and keep the last 3 boxes for a few more years. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, obviously, I don't think anyone should ever sell every single Evolving Skies or Fusion Strike box you have right now. I think these are still good long-term holds. I'm just talking about like in terms of rate of return, it's probably better to put some of that money into some of the newer sets and diversify and kind of like catch that first 5 years. Well, not first 5 years. I think timing is really important, and that's buying it at around a year or a year and a half after release. So your money isn't tied up to a product that's still within its reprint window, because the opportunity cost of your money, like it could be better put in terms of other sets that are already out of print, or maybe the S&P 500 or Bitcoin or Ethereum or real estate. So buying like a set right before it goes above MSRP, which is usually a year and a half after release, is the best time to buy. And but don't ever like, oh, I think right now Evolving Skies is at its peak. It's never going to go up, so I'm going to sell everything. But it's okay to sell some of your position and kind of move it in other directions. So that's what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I hate even talking about it in this way in this time period because everyone's so like frustrated. But like, you almost have to think of it as a portfolio and like kind of like equalizing your portfolio out. Where if you had Evolving Skies and Fusion Strike and Chilling Reign and all these other boxes at $100, and now Evolving Skies is like the majority of your portfolio, it makes sense to sell some of that, kind of get it down to like around the average investment you have in each thing again, and diversify it out to other things. And the same thing you would do in like a stock portfolio, a crypto portfolio. If you have like 5 different crypto coins and one just shoots to the moon, you probably want to sell off some of that and kind of get it back equalized with other investments you have, diversify it out. And it's no different in Pokemon. So like, yeah, I definitely agree. Sell off some of the high performing sets, put in some newer sets, and kind of get your portfolio back balanced.
Totally agree. Yeah, you gotta diversify because you never know. A set like, for example, Twilight Masquerade, we didn't expect it to do so well, but if you diversified, you would have some position in it.
Yeah, I remember people were saying Twilight Masquerade was a skip set. That's what people told me. Because we're at the shop, and so we have a pretty good pulse of the hobby. So people will come in and be like, "What do you think of the Twilight Masquerade set?" I was like, "Yeah," and I looked at it. The Greninja is pretty cool. Greninja is a really popular Pokemon in Japan. And people like, yeah, I looked at it. It kind of sucks. I'm going to skip it. So everyone actually said that. And then like nobody expected it to perform the way it did. It's always nice I think still like this is like kind of like the Rudy way of investing. If you can get product at around or at below MSRP at release, buying it and storing away is pretty much the easiest way to look at it. Like, and one of the things that he said that kind of resonated with me and a lot of people is he's like, in Pokemon, we only talk about which set goes up first. Well, they all are going to go up. Like, who cares who goes up first, right? So, yeah, at the end of the day, I think you can't really go wrong buying a set at below MSRP. Even when it's like a weaker set, like Battle Styles or Vivid Voltage. I actually think Vivid Voltage is underrated because I love that set when it came out. It's one of the first sets that CJ Shop carried. And I remember pulling that Rainbow Pikachu from the first box we opened. It was one of our favorite memories. And it's got the amazing rares. I know they're very cheap because it's really easy to pull, but you got the Rayquaza, you got the Raikou, you got Celebi amazing rares. Like, those cards are beautiful in my opinion. I think looking back 5-10 years from now, that set will be still looked at pretty fondly because of the iconic Pikachu that represented like the 2020 boom and the amazing rares. And that set right now is still like $120. It's still available on Pokemon.
No, it's up, I think.
Oh, it is? Maybe like 150. Yeah. But it's definitely like below MSRP, right? Or am I just out of touch? Let me see.
Vivid Voltage is above MSRP because MSRP for Sword and Shield was like
144. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So Grounder said, I see more and more of the metal pain for Swish era packs. What do you guys think about the future of raw pack prices? It's funny because I just saw a video today with this guy using a metal detector to his Sword and Shield pack. I know I saw one with Lost Origin, and it worked on Lost Origin packs, but I kind of forgot what packs he was scanning, but it was Sword and Shield, and apparently you're able to detect like some of the metal part of the hollow and kind of pick them apart. And so also as a rip and shipper, when you source your pack, when you source those packs from others, like how do you know these packs are not been tempered with? Are you worried about that at all, Alex?
I mean, sometimes, like a lot of times, I'll ask like who else they've sold to, and then I usually know most everyone. I mean, I don't know everyone at this point, but I know a lot of people who rip and ship, and I'll reach out to them and ask them if they bought from them before, if they've ripped their packs, is everything good? And like, I think that's kind of the most you can do is just kind of like kind of vetting them as a reputable seller. Have the packs been good in the past? Like, obviously, they could always change it up and scam you at some point in the future, but I just kind of take people, you know, at their word. I take the other streamers I know at their word, and I try to do my due diligence that way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I think the best you can do with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think having a rip and ship and telling them that these packs are being ripped on stream is like a really good way to really vet them, because if you were metal detecting and searching these packs, you wouldn't want them to be open on stream, right? So I think for Alex, it's probably a little bit easier than a shop buying them in bulk. Let's say a shop buys 1,000 Crown Zenith packs, and then there's like customers that just buy 100 packs of rip and there's absolutely no hits. Then that shop will take the blame. So it's a lot riskier for an LGS that's not streaming to buy these packs. I do think the packs, the loose packs, probably long term won't perform in terms of the rate of return as like sealed products or even like blisters. Even though blisters can still be like searched, but it's a lot tougher. I would say if you were buying them from reputable seller, most of the time it's okay. But you know, I wouldn't put it past a lot of the sellers to kind of like change the way that that they do business once they are thinking about cashing out, leaving the hobby. Is what we call an exit scam. It happens quite a bit in crypto, happens quite a bit in Pokemon, in every industry actually. Like we've seen very reputable people that's been doing honest business for many years, because of the circumstances changing, and maybe they need money to fund their other business, or they have to, you know, save their real estate portfolio from being foreclosed. You know, people do all kinds of desperate things in different situations. So still, like, try your best to vet them and maybe sign I sign mostly when I do business like that's above 6 figures in Pokemon. Even I would sign contracts. I would put their ID on the contract, so they know that I can go after them if these things are tampered with or fake. So I would still say like be careful, but for most of the modern stuff, I don't think you have to be super careful, because it's not worth people really searching these packs and risking their reputation to make a few bucks for like a $5 to $10 pack.
Gosh, I don't know why that, you know, that people even do it. And, you know, this is not me trying to be holier than thou. I talk about it all the time with these rip and shippers. Like, if someone's going to buy packs, I advise everyone, watch their stream a few times. Like, watch them for a couple hours, you know, and see if people are getting hits from their packs, right? And if no one is, well, obviously, probably something's off or something's wrong. But I don't understand. Seriously, I'm a rip and shipper, right? I'm evil. I don't even understand why you would want to go through all the trouble to do all these crazy things and try to weigh the packs or metal detector scan and find all the hits. It's like the amount of time you're spending, the amount of little bit of money you're going to take from scamming someone out of their $100, $200 cards will be better spent just running your business better or streaming more or doing something else. And the better part is when people actually pull those big hits on your stream, it actually makes them want to come back and buy from you again and try to hit them again. And so it's just like, there's so many more benefits to just running your business by the book than trying to do all these, like, you know, schemy things, because one, you don't have to worry about getting caught because you're not doing anything. Two, it's probably going to work out better for you in every aspect by just giving people the freaking hits. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Fat Belly Collects says, why wouldn't you want to make more money? Well, this is a very like short-sighted way of looking at business. When you can probably profit short term when you reseal packs or surge packs, metal detection packs. But like Alex said, you're ruining your long-term business, because you might be making like an extra, let's say 10K a month for 3 months. But people will catch on to it. People will, especially with rip and shippers, because you have evidence everywhere. People will record these videos. And if that costs you your reputation, it's not only your reputation in the Pokemon industry, it will follow you in other industries. And why would you risk your long-term career and earning potential on making an extra 10, 20, 30, 40,000? It's very short-sighted vision for people that do that.
Reputation is everything in this community because everybody talks, and you're gonna get tons of videos about you if you make those scummy moves.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you'll end up on a Rattles channel, right?
Yeah. 7 ETB, the infamous 7 ETB. Yeah, reputation is all. Yeah. Okay, I wanted to get your take on vintage stuff because I don't think that's you talk about that quite a bit, but I've been saying for a long time, this is not so much for investment, but collection purposes. People are overlooking how cheap and how accessible it is to buy vintage, even not just the PSA 8s and 9s, which you can get for like $50, $100. But there's a lot of PSA 10s, like the Blaine Charizard PSA 10 first edition is now cheaper than a Moonbryon. And that card is a pop 95 or no, pop 295 or something. And what are your thoughts on vintage being undervalued or overlooked right now?
All right, let me ask you. I'm going to ask you a question about modern, and then I'll answer yours.
Yeah.
I got to challenge you on this one.
Okay.
The illustration rares of the early Scarlet Violet sets. A lot of those are extremely hard to grade, and the condition rarity of the 10s is on the same level of a lot of vintage cards. So do those deserve the price points they are getting? Because as you know, vintage hollows, they're not rare. They're very easy to hit. And these illustration rares are not extremely rare. They're pretty easy to hit. But the population of 10s is in the low hundreds on a lot of them. Does that mean they deserve these $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 price points?
That's a very good question. I don't think people have ever asked me that question. Conditional rarity is something that really came into play in the last 5 to 10 years. It wasn't so much a thing before when people weren't really collecting like the PSA 10s or black labels pre 2017 or 18, right? So I do think the most important thing for these cards is its absolute like demand and how much people like them. But these illustration rares, I've been telling some of my friends I think some of them deserve to be more expensive than their SIRs and the ones with texture because those are graded better, less surface flaws, because the artwork is just as good. And like you said, they're way harder to grade. So I do think in the vintage market, looking at a lot of the illustration rares are probably better than buying your alt arts at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for these PSA 10s. But do they have the same level of like demand and nostalgia as the vintage hollows? No, I don't think they should be put into the same category because there's a reason why those of us that are 30, 35 years old are still in the hobby. And that's because we remember as kids, we pulled those cards. And yeah, the conditional rarity is the only thing that matters for vintage because those cards are so easy to pull. There used to be only 2 rarity tiers. You have the non-hollows and non-hollows pretty much, right?
Yeah.
For early WotC. And that's why they were so easy to pull. You could pull like, I think an average of 0.7 Charizards from every booster box back then. So these are not easy to pull, but most of them came out of the pack. If you were to grade them with today's modern standards, it would be 7 and 8s. So I personally think you can put the current day illustration rares as investments, maybe because of conditional rarity, above some of the SARs or some of the alt arts that are really high pop and really high value. But you can't just directly correlate that with the vintage cards. And one of the examples that I like to give people is some people would like to grab their PSA 10 like reverse hollow from the EX era and be like, hey, this is pop one. This is whatever I think it's worth. Well, there's a reason why it's only pop one because less people graded them. So there's a reason why a lot of the illustration rares are in the hundreds in terms of population, not only because the gem rate goes from 70% to like 35%, but because there's a lot less people that graded them as well.
Yeah.
So the demand is not there for those cards to be comparable to the vintage hollows, even though the pop might be somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll give my take, and we'll agree on some things, we go on others.
Yeah.
Obviously, all like the trophy cards, all that type of stuff. Those are all Japanese exclusive promos. Like those are always going to be very high dollar. They're always going to do well because the whales in the hobby, they need something to chase that other people can't have. Like, you know, the illustration Pikachu, all those things. Like, those are always going to do well because whales are always going to trade the highest level of collectibles for sure. Then you get to like the actual vintage set cards. And I think the first edition PSA 10s all gonna be well, especially in the top species. Like my feel on vintage is like a handful of cards are gonna be great, and 90% of them are probably gonna, you know, perform relatively like stagnant. They'll slowly trend up over time, not gonna see major growth outside of like the most popular Pokemon of the highest grades in the first edition sets. And then also, obviously, all of the like very high rarity things like the gold stars, the shinings, the crystals. I think those will be, you know, really sought after because of kind of that specialty, like more of a god tier rarity in terms of vintage that people want to chase because they are that much more scarce. Yep, and they are a lot of them are popular Pokemon. People want to chase popular Pokemon. So like that's my feeling on vintage is it's got to be popular species. It's got to be cards that people actually like want and have nostalgia for. I think the problem with like I've had with the vintage crowd is people dive too deep, right? They start like trying to find all these like random mid-era cards or deep set cards and say, it's got, you know, 10 population. It's like, yeah, but no one cares about that random Pokemon or that random card. Many people in the hobby will never find it. So I like the top 10% of vintage. Great. The next, maybe like even top 15, the rest of it, I'm not as bullish on. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think I agree with 90% of the things you said. Speaking of gold stars, I think I'm probably one of the biggest gold star collectors.
I've never seen one in a pristine.
This is the only pristine copy of this card in the world.
That's why.
And okay, so out of the 48 PSA 10s of this gold star Rayquaza, how many do you think I had?
I don't know.
I had 6 of them. So
Did you crack one to grade that?
No, this is actually graded by someone else, but okay. I own 6 PSA 10s. 6 out of the 48. And
now I gotta ask you the serious question. Why aren't they in tag slabs?
Hey, because this won't cross the tag pristine. I have to be okay. I'm gonna talk about tag in a little bit, but what my point is, conditional rarity is really important. And in vintage, my point is one of my friends, and he's a content creator too, Orion Cyrus.
Oh yeah, I've had him on the channel before.
Yeah, he kind of talked about like the trifecta, whatever his name, for vintage Pokemon as first edition base, crystals, gold stars, and shinings. I think that's like the equivalent to the blue chip stock of the vintage market. And I agree with most of your takes. Like I mentioned briefly, there's some of my mid-era friends that would pull up their Pop 1 like EX era stuff. That super rare. There's like, oh, this is Pop 1, this is Pop 1, this one's Pop 1. I'm like, hey, it's great. I think it's super cool that you love them, but like in terms of value or investment, like it's probably going to stay Pop 1 forever because nobody else is going to grade a second one, right? But for the gold stars, shinings, crystals, even these cards are still relatively undervalued when you compare it to to modern stuff. That is my opinion. And what I'm trying to say is not everyone has to collect pristine. Like I've completed my gold star PSA 10 set twice actually, and I sold them because those 10s are old cert PSA 10s that are complete garbage in condition. We'll talk about that later. But even the PSA 8s and 9s, like you can get some gold star PSA 8s and 9s that are equivalent to like the old cert PSA 10s for like $700-800. And these are gold stars that were super hard to pull, not only conditional rarity, but like absolute rarity back in the day. And people don't realize it because they see a gold star and they think these PSA 10 prices, like in the 5-6 figures, they're like, oh my God, I can't afford it. But yeah, actually, if you have Moonbreons in your collection, you can afford some of these other stuff. So I do think vintage will make a comeback. And when I say vintage, I'm not talking about like the entire vintage sector. I'm talking about like the blue chip stock that you mentioned.
A lot of them have been this year.
Yeah.
Or last year and into this year.
Yeah. But some of them are still pretty undervalued. Like, some of the Team Rocket stuff, like we talked about this multiple times. I know not a lot of people like the Dark Charizard, but when I was a kid, I remember seeing a Shadowless Charizard and then a Dark Charizard. Shadowless Charizard was like $80 at a card shop. I was like, oh my God, I wanted to buy that card. My mom slapped me in the face, like how dare you want to buy an $80 card? And then there's like a Dark Charizard next to it for $25. So I was like, Mom, for my 8th birthday, please buy me that card. And then she's like, okay, well, I'll buy it if you're nice. And then I ended up like being bad, so she didn't buy it. But that card, is gorgeous. I think it's the second most beautiful vintage Charizard in my opinion. And a PSA 10 Unlimited Dark Charizard, which is Pop 100, is $1,200, right? And the first edition, which is like Pop 295, a bit higher or something like that. That card is like $3,000, the same price as a Moonbreon. You can't tell me those cards are not undervalued. The first edition Raichu, the first secret rare of all time, that card is what, like $1,500 or $2,000?
Yeah, 1,500, I would say.
Yeah. So you can't tell me those cards aren't undervalued right now, because they shouldn't be half of the Moonbreon PSA 10 prices. So, I mean, I think there's plenty of opportunities in vintage.
Well, I would had good hopes for those cards, but now that Team Rocket set is no longer coming out, they changed the name. So, well, I don't know if they really changed the name or not. Glory of Team Rocket is the Japanese set name, but for the English Modern, they combine two different sets, Heat Wave Arena and Glory of Team Rocket together. So they have to kind of diversify the name a little bit, so it doesn't sound like it's just Rocket exclusive.
Yeah,
set.
it's very disappointing.
Yeah. It kind of sucks, but at the end of the day, you're still going to get those Team Rocket cards. It's like Evolving Skies. I remember when Evolving Skies first came out, people were like pretty confused about that set too, because it wasn't just like the evolutions like Eevee heroes, and it wasn't like the dragon types. Like I forgot what the dragon, it was like what I forgot what the Japanese equivalent to that set was. Combining those two didn't really make sense, right? But it worked out. So I personally don't think it makes that big of a difference, because it's still going to be known as the Team Rocket set. But yeah, it is kind of disappointing from the marketing perspective that it's not like we don't have like a dedicated Team Rocket set like they do in Japan.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand why, like, it's very simple. Just put the big R on the box, right? Like everyone wants it, you know, it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember Forge and Fire putting up pre-orders and they
Yes.
labeled that set as the Team Rocket set? That
Yes.
surely didn't work out well for them.
What happened with that? I mean, I wonder what's going to happen.
I mean, I'm sure people are still going to want to pre-order because,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard. But I just feel like, they jumped to conclusion a little bit too quickly on the name.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of wanted to, before we go today, I wanted to talk to you about Tag, because I wanted to give you a full picture on the company, people behind it, and why I decided to put my money towards it. And I'm not talking about Slab. I'm talking about investing in the company to help it grow and push the hobby forward. You ready?
Dude, hey, we talked beforehand. I want you to know I've never been against the company Tag. I want you to be clear about that.
Okay. All right.
I promise you I wasn't. I was against
Okay.
I was against how I felt the community was going to use it to line their own pockets. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could say that about everything, like about PSA, CGC, and Beckett as well. People are very emotional about the grading companies they support. The way that I talk about these people is they treat their favorite grading companies like their favorite sports teams, right? It's a very binary way of thinking for these people, because oftentimes I see the comments that are like, PSA is the best standard, BGS CGC sucks, or like even Tag is the best, like PSA sucks, right? You can, like, for example, I'm one of the biggest like CGC pristine collectors in the world. I have over $1 million in CGC pristine slabs. I am an absolute fan of the label, because I think the black and gold label looks really cool, and they're a lot harder to get than PSA 10s in terms of the pristine rates versus gem rates, a lot of different things. But I went hard at CGC during the prototype scandal, because I do think they need to be held accountable for their actions, and I've been one of the most vocal people on the planet about it. And this is against my financial interest, because if CGC ceases to exist, my pristine collection in CGC will probably go down in value a lot. But because I'm a collector first, I never intend to sell these cards. To me, even if they're worth $0, it's fine. And you can still enjoy the slabs and the cards that are in them while disagreeing with what the company does, right? So again, like I hate how people are just treating them as their favorite sports teams. It's either this company's the best, this company sucks. It's such a binary way of looking at things that like sometimes it's better to look at them and it's truth is somewhere in the middle, right?
Well, I'll give you my take. Like I don't look at it that way. I look at it strictly as like a financial aspect. I see PSA as, you know, because they grade the most and they transact the most, they're the most liquid. And because the 10s are easier to get, you're going to get obviously a higher level of 10s than you are somewhere else. And because the 10s sell more than the CGC regular 10s or Beckett 9.5s and things, I think overall, if you're running a grading company, you can probably do better just getting PSA 10s and trying to chase those others. So I was looking at it as more of like a transactional standpoint of why I'm pro PSA and less of like a collector standpoint or actual like supporting a company.
Okay. All right. So let me just give you a little bit of background on the way that I got into this hobby. I mean, this company. And I've had this frustration for many years. And I used to be a guy that collected mostly PSA slabs as well, because for the uniformity of my collection, people like to see all PSA slabs, or all Beckett slabs, or all CGC slabs, right? So most of my stuff was PSA. And I had a PSA 10 like Gold Star set. I had a PSA 10 first edition Charizard. I had many, like I had a lot of these PSA slabs. I just never posted because I didn't have a Pokemon count until until 2024, right? But I've always been so frustrated because I remember looking at one of my old cert PSA 10 Rayquaza Gold Stars, and it was silvering in every border. It was completely disgusting. It was a 2 cert. And then I looked at a new cert PSA 9 that my friend had that was so much stronger than that card, but it costs, I think at the time, like five times less, right? So I was like, why am I paying 5x for this card when it's way worse than your card, even though it's a PSA 10? So it was very frustrating for me to as a high-end collector to pay these crazy premiums for cards I know don't deserve the premium and the grade. And it really, I hate seeing these people that do crack and resubmits at different companies trying to, like, for the same damn card, get like a 2x value when you cross it to a different company, when the grader has a good day, a better day than he had the first time, right? So that was one of the main pain points. So I walked into the tag offices March 8th, 2024. That was during LA Collecticon. Jen Mint brought me there because he was at my house. He's like, Jesse, you're a big tech investor. You should look into this tech grading company, Tag. I was like, what the hell is Tag? Never heard of it. And then he's like, yeah, they have machine grading technology. It's actually called stereoscopic photometric imaging, where they combine like the images, all kinds of images from different angles to actually grade with the machine to tell you every detail about the card. And the great thing about this is no matter how many times you grade it with the machine, it will give you the same grade because of its fingerprint technology. It recognizes resubs and it will always give you the same grade without human intervention. There's like right now still like quality assurance for people to check for false positives, but there is no human intervention in terms of the final grade. And it tells you exactly why the card got it, the grade it got. Let me show you a dig report. I don't think you've seen the tag reports before, right?
No.
Okay, let me just pull it up real quick.
For sure.
Let me pull up, share the entire screen. All right. Are you guys able to see this?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
So let me pull up. I'm going to pull up like a random Umbreon, for example. Umbreon VMAX 215. You can look at the pop report. There's a ranking system as well. So let's pull up this one. This is actually one of the ones that we own. So the crazy thing about Tag that PSA and CGC and Beckett doesn't have is it tells you why it got the grade that it got. So this surface defect transparency map. You can click on it. You can check on the details. Any flaws on here. It tells you the population, the card rank, the chronology. It's not like Beckett where you have 4 subgrades. It tells you the front, back, breaks it down, centering, corner, surface, edges, dimensions. And then this is really cool, the surface defect map. So this is obviously a Gen 10, so there's not a lot of issues with surface in the front, Sword and Shield area arts, but these are the defects. Like surface defect here, you click on it, it will tell you exactly where that defect is. There's like a little print error dot here that you can see, right? So it tells me where my flaws are, why I got the grade that I got. And yeah, you can see the front is 1000, back is 954. And with the PSA scans, you can't really tell if a card has whitening or if it's just reflection, but the level of quality of these images, you can actually magnify them and look at every detail on the card. See, like if you had a PSA scan, this might look like whitening, but in the tag scans, you can actually see that it's reflection of the light. And it breaks it down every top, bottom, every edge with the graded images. So this is the level of transparency that we have with tag. So I walked into this company, and then I talked to all of these people. What blew my mind is the CEO is like 77 years old. For the 2-hour presentation, he didn't talk about the company, the business model. He didn't talk about how much money they were going to make. He talked about his collection journey, 45 year, 60, 50-year collection journey as a sports card collector, and how he had the same problems that I had. And then how they started the company with their friends, with his friend Bob Cook and their sons. And all we talked about is how this would solve the pain points that collectors have about grading, about the inconsistencies, about the subjectivity, about the lack of transparency, about the lack of repeatability. And I was blown away. I was like, this is something that I think will push the hobby forward. And then, but at the same time, as an investor, I'm not excited to invest in service-based companies, because with the current business model, I was like, tag will just be a better but less profitable PSA, because they don't have value upcharges. They charge $15 a card no matter how much it is, right? So I was like, yeah, I love the company, I'll support it. But as an investor, a service-based company is like a company that you have to hire more people and rent more real estate. So the scalability, the margins, it will never be a tech company. So I'm like, you're using technology, but still a service-based company. So as an investor, I'm not so interested. And then they show me the prototype of a remote grading pod, and that changed my mind completely, because it doesn't only solve the pain point of the consistency and the grading aspect, but using technology in the next 3 years, they will put a remote grading pod in every LGS, every card show, where you can walk into the shop and put your card in there to get it graded and encapsulated within 5 minutes for like $5 or $10. It democratizes grading completely, lowers the barrier of entry. The people that didn't want to grade, like the kid that didn't want to grade their $2 V card, can now walk into a shop, not worry about shipping for $20, waiting for 2 months, and just grade it on the spot, right? Changes the business model completely as well, because it's no longer a service-based company, it's a tech company. So like, without getting into the nerdy side of investing, that's what's kind of sold me on the company. That's a vision that the company had. So it's the reason why I kind of took issue with what you said at the time. Now I understand that's not your point when you talked about, oh, the people behind tag are like pumping and dumping. Not behind tag, but like pumping. Like, I was taken out of context. I didn't really understand it. Is that investing in an early stage private company is like the furthest thing away you can possibly do to a pump and dump, right? My money would have made me a lot more money, like in the stock market, buying and selling cards. Putting your money into a private company that you probably won't see returns in 3, 5, maybe 10 years is like the furthest thing away from that. And to kind of like show you, because you asked me, it's like, how come this is not in a tax lab? We're actually known to so I invested in tag late last year in November of 2024. I've been a tag advocate for a long time, and we recently started posting these videos, and we've been cracking all of our, like, we've only released 5 or 6 videos. We've cracked all, like, most of our pristine 10s, Becca 10s, black labels,
so
and PSA 10s.
Can you not send them in for a cross grade still in the other slabs?
You can't, because the technology, the light is really important. So you put in a slab, a lot of it will not work. So it has to be cracked. And as you can see, there's a lot of these. I don't know if you've seen some of our videos, but I am an investor in tag, and I'm actually going to be on the board of directors. I don't even know what grades I'm going to get. So this CGC 10 Gold Star Charizard, for example, this is my wife. we cracked it, and boom, it got a tag 8.5. And then we 8.5. Yeah, there's that, and then there's this one that really surprised. Another Gold Star CGC 10 that we cracked to send to tag. And again, like we looked at these cards, we thought they were all like genuine candidates, but unfortunately, this one didn't cross as well. This one actually got an 8.
Wow.
Hey, Alex, there was a question by Fat Belly Collects. I think it's an important question to address. I don't know if you recall the creature deck tag Zapdos that had a problem with not detecting the dent. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, just for full transparency?
Oh, me? Okay. Yeah, of course. So I wanted to address that real quick because first of all, the technology is not perfect. It's far from perfect, and there is an I think 0.8% rate of false positives and lack. There's a couple cases where it didn't detect dents. There's a couple cases where it detected dents that weren't there. So the technology is not fully there yet, but it's already a lot. The thing is, when people get a PSA slab and then they see it and there's like, oh, it's completely destroyed. Classic PSA, they crack it, send it back in. They'll make a big deal. Every time a tag slab gets something where you don't agree with, you look at the dig report, it's like, hey, that's not there. Or this thing is not pointed out. Like, oh, the technology doesn't work. So again, the technology is not fully there yet, but it is improving rapidly. And the surface defect issues don't exist anymore in modern day, I don't think, because that was done like 6-7 months ago. And since then, the technology has dramatically improved. And this is the difference between tech companies and human grading companies, is that the technology will improve over time. It'll never be perfect, but it's the methodology is so. Let's say you have a grade that you don't agree with. You can see in the videos that we just played. You can go into dig report and find out, hey, like, why did it get an 8? Oh, it got a 794 in the back, and there's 3 specks of whitening here, or there's a dent with the Gold Star Reggie Steel that we had. Oh, you see it. If it's not there, you send it back. You're like, hey, this is a false positive. This mark that it was marked as a defect that brought it down to an 8 is actually not on the card. And you can change it. And again, like, this is the full transparency that we advocate for. Even though the technology is not perfect yet, it's already a lot more accurate. Like, we did a study on the accuracy of PSA, CGC, and BGS. And I think the accuracy was like 82%, where like if you send it to 3 different companies multiple times, the grades come back different 70% of the time when you submit it 4 times. So there's only like, I think 20% of times where it came back the same grade every time. So we're attempting to solve this issue. It's already more accurate current day than the manual grading companies. But yeah, it's still not perfect. We still have to work on it to make it as close to perfect as possible. And once that becomes a reality, the remote grading pods I talked about will come out. So yeah, I mean, that's why I support this company. That's why I put my money where my mouth is. And I believe this is a real pain point that is solved in the hobby that we have. And fortunately, that recently people have been following tag and the market is agreeing with it. Like, we can just go to collector and they've reported some of these sales, and anybody can go verify this. Yeah, recently, like most of at least for the modern cards, the tag 10s have been outselling the PS. So these two ended on the same day in the same auction block, I believe. The tag 10 987, which is like a really strong gem mint 10, got $1,050, and the PSA 10s is 600. Currently, I believe there's 2 auctions that are going on at the same time on Probe Scene, and I posted a couple days ago. I think yesterday, the CGC Pristine 10 is at 620, and the tag gem mint 10 is at 820. So people are already paying a premium for the tag 10s because of the ability to see why it got the grade that it got. But anyways, that's not important to me because I don't intend to sell any of our personal collection tag cards. Like I've sold one total tag card in my personal collection. So it really doesn't matter to me, value, but it is a good indicator that market is starting to accept it.
That's what I was going to say. How do you feel about like long-term market acceptance for it?
Yeah.
I
Well, it's already
that's the whole thing about, I know you said you're not going to sell yours, but the majority of graded cards get transacted. And, I'm sure it's on people's mind is, am I going to be able to list this anytime I want and get money for it the way I am a PSA 10?
Yeah. Well, it's been selling for more than PSA 10. So I think that kind of answers the question. And this is the one that I'm referring to. So these two, as you can see, the CGC Pristine and the Tag 10, they're going, they're ending in 8 hours on Probstein. They're in the same auction block. One has 36 followers and the other one has, can't see, 44 and 79. And the CGC Pristine is at 620. The Tag 10 is at 830. The PSA 10 just finished at 550, I think. So the market is already starting to turn around and accept it.
Your average player asks, how do we know it's not just an investor buying the cards?
What do you mean?
I'm guessing,
I didn't buy any of these.
Right.
You can ask the sellers. You can ask Drew Marcucci, right? People claim that I'm just sitting around buying up every single one of these cards.
Like Taylor Swift's dad?
I don't have any. I didn't bid on any of these. Right? I don't know how I can prove it, but you can ask Probstein, you can ask Z&G. They can see if it's being shill bid. It's 45 different people bidding on this. And you can say it's all like burner accounts that I made with hundreds of reviews. Like I can never disprove that. But I mean, at the end of the day, you can ask the sellers, you can ask the auction houses. I'm sure if there's something sketchy going on, they would figure it out. And transparency is what I advocate for. So I would never do anything like that. And it's same thing as the people that are behind tags. So these are just baseless allegations that I take very seriously. So, I mean, I welcome you to say that to my face because that's my integrity that you're questioning.
He also asked if Mystic is an investor.
He is not. Mystic is. And that's the other thing I want to address. I see a lot of people like Tag is paying these influencers. Paying so many influencers. I see they
tried to pay me but couldn't afford me, guys.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So Tag doesn't have a budget for influencers. Tag has never paid a single influencer. People have reached out to us. You can ask Deep Pocket Monster, Pat Flynn. You can ask PokeRev. These guys reach out to us before. Yeah, I've shown PokeSign. I'm sure they'll start making videos. We didn't pay these guys anything. We didn't pay Mystic anything. The only thing that Tag does have is like an affiliate program where they can, some of these people making videos will be like, yeah, you can grade with Tag for 10% off and I'll get like my affiliate link, whatever. That's the only thing Tag has ever done. No one's ever paid anyone to go comment on Reddit, to go make videos online. It's just absolutely ridiculous because I think it's funny because I see the inside and I know our budgets. There isn't a budget for influencers or paying other people to say certain things. All of this is organic. It shows because the market and the collectors are so frustrated with PSA, CGC, BGS, these manual grading companies, because these collectibles, alternate investments are 5, 6, sometimes 7 figures. A random dude's opinion shouldn't be what you base the value of your cards on anymore. It should be something more scientific than that.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's the thing. I can be swayed. Like I can change my mind. I mean, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to anything is they're too set in their ways. And they, I just always need, proof first, right? I always need to see how the market again starts to accept it, as it seems it's starting to. Have to see like sales volume. I need to see those things before I start putting money into those. And that's why I was like a little hesitant when it first came out, is because I'm like, okay, well, look, you built a better mousetrap type thing, but unless the market accepts it and starts, the sales volume start to, ramp up and then people start to grade with it, it's not going to matter, right? Like we can name 100 different products in every different industry that's better than the top selling one, but they're not top selling because of whatever reason. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's just because they haven't gained market acceptance. But seeing all the data you showed, I mean, we know it's better. So that's like a variable we can take out. We know it's better, obviously. It's more accurate. And seeing more and more sales happen and especially happen at higher volume, seeing the amount of graded cards ramp up, Those are all things that can sway me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Again, like
say
I just wanted to address this Mystic thing again. So from my understanding, he doesn't have equity based on the money that he put into it. I don't know if he has an affiliate code. I think he does. So I don't know if that counts as like being affiliated, because there's a lot of things that people are like accusing Mystic or other people. Mystic is just a fan that showed up at the offices and really believed in it. He's like, I love this thing. I can grade a lot of my cards. And so I think he's like a submitter and an affiliate partner. So he does get like revenue in terms of getting people to click on the links, if that makes any sense.
But that's with everything.
Yeah. So he's like an affiliate partner. Yeah, but he's not an investor.
Lee, what were you gonna say?
I said I was just gonna say I'm in the same boat as you. I would like to see more volume and market acceptance before I fully support, a grading company. But I did my submission with tag with just like 5 cards to test it out. Just want to see how it goes. But just so everyone knows, I'm not an affiliate, even though I do co-host with Jesse. I have no association with tag directly, but I am friends with Jesse. So I'm just trying to figure out, what works best for me as a collector. And I feel like tag is making a really good entry into this collecting space. So I do suggest, some of you guys try it out first and see for yourself firsthand.
Yeah, it's really funny because Pokesun made a video of cracking her tag 8.5 Espeon all arts.
Yes.
And sent it into PSA and got a 10, right? So I thought it was a cool experiment because it's kind of like the opposite of what we do, cracking PSA 10s to tag. She cracked an 8.5 tag to PSA 10, and then people started attacking her for not being transparent, saying how she has affiliation with tag because she's my friend and co-host. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. There's like, oh, you should have like disclosed your affiliation. It's like, what affiliation? She doesn't get paid a single dollar from tag. Tag doesn't even, like, frankly, like none of the people at tag even knows who she is other than she's my friend. And they're like, yeah, but she's friends with you and you invest in tag. It's like, okay, I invest in 46 different companies. So I literally have like Pokesun has to be affiliated with every single one of them. Like, how does that make any sense?
How does everyone keep up with all this drama?
Yeah.
It seems like, I don't know, it seems really mind numbing to try to figure out all these different conspiracies.
Yeah. So Jesse, you mentioned before how tag wants to put machines into auto grading and LCS. Will tag pay for the machine and maintenance, or is on LCS? So we're still working on that. I believe it's going to be some sort of a lease deal where, like, obviously you got to pay for the machine, and then we have a company that's working with us to like finance these machines, where the owners can kind of offset the costs with just getting like a profit for every single card that's graded. But we want to make it as affordable as possible. Like, my goal is to get grading down to like below $10. Let's say like it's $8 a card and you can get it back in 5 minutes in a slab. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Because right now, even with the cheapest tier at PSA, I think it's like $18 plus shipping plus whatever, like bulk submission deal. And you end up spending like at least 20 something dollars a card. And that's for the cheapest tier. For the value upcharges,
go the other way. I was gonna say raise it. I mean, people pay for convenience.
But
a no wait instant grade, that's worth more, I think.
Yeah, but I think if a company can afford to make it more affordable, I think we want to do it, because the main thing is I want to democratize grading and make it accessible to everyone, lower the barrier of entry. So every kid that wants to grade their like reverse holo that they love but it has no value, they can spend $5 or $10 grading that card, getting it back in a couple minutes. I think that will change the game completely. That will change collecting forever. And that's what I'm advocating for. And at the end of the day, as a tech company, because you have all these machines in place, the cost is next to zero once the R&D side is done, right? So yeah, I want to make it cheaper.
Yeah. But as Son of Mark said, it's hard. Change is hard. So
well, it's already happening before our eyes, so I don't know why people are saying, "Oh, it's impenetrable." Like I make this analogy quite a bit. In my opinion, this is not just with tag, but it's a time in our hobby where in 5 years everything's going to change. Because in the last 10 years, everything's been running the same way as it did in the late 90s, and I see tag and PSA this change as a Netflix blockbuster situation happening.
Wow, those are strong words.
Blockbuster had 9,000 stores in 2007 and laughed Netflix out of their office, right? And yeah, that's what people are saying. Yeah, PSA is too big to fail. Well, I'm not saying they'll fail, but at the end of the day, you're saying change is like impossible. It's already happened before your eyes. And those of you that are saying like PSA will be king forever, like I always ask them, like, where's your Blockbuster membership card? Is it still in your wallet? Because you should probably take it out and sell it on eBay. Because
or are you just going to get a massive payday when PSA buys out Tag?
Well, they've already acquired and people like me and Charlie Lee, the creator of Litecoin, we're not gonna we're thinking big. Like PSA is a service-based company. They got acquired for $730 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but for an industry leader, that's like peanuts because, like I said, they're not a tech company. Once Tag reaches product market fit and has these remote grading pods out, I see it 5-10x the valuation that PSA had. So I don't think PSA will be able to afford Tag. My hot take, actually, I'm not going to say it. People are going to say I'm crazy and hate on me, but my opinion, that's not going to happen. We're not going to allow it to happen because we're thinking way bigger than getting acquired by PSA.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens, but I would love to continue to submit more cards to Tag to give it more time and see how it goes.
Yeah.
That's what a friend of Jesse's would say.
Yeah, okay, son, how's my last check treating you? Do I need to send another one? Do we need a contract renewal? Oh my god. Hey, I didn't say Pokemon finance guys. This is what Justin's going to say is they are going to acquire PSA. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's a possibility that people don't see right now. But in 5 to 10 years, you will see what if Tag. Okay, here's my other take. So I think you can say I don't like Tag. I don't like Jesse Pang. I don't like the people behind it. I don't like any of you. But you can't say automated grading isn't here to stay. In my opinion, it would be tragic if in 5 to 10 years people are still sitting around waiting for your grader to have a good day to get the grade that it deserves, sending it to 5 different companies, cracking it over and over again to try and get a better grade and a higher value of your card, because that's just such a stone age way of thinking in this hobby. So in 5 to 10 years, I think automated grading, machine grading is here to stay. If it's not Tag, it's somebody else. It is somebody else. And I think that's okay for me because my Tag position is such a small part of my net worth. Like I hate to say this because the people at Tag are not going to like this when I say it, but I don't really care if Tag becomes that. I would like it to happen because I believe in the company, but even if Tag doesn't become the industry leader in 5 years and somebody else that's doing machine grading does it, that's still okay. Because as a collector, it's better for all of us, right? So if Tag pushes even the big three to do, to implement more technology in their companies, which is really tough because we have all the patents, R&D for 8 years, right? But if another company comes and solves this problem, becomes the industry leader, that's better for the community, and I'm all in here for it. That's why competition is great. That's why I support Tag 100%, and that's why I think people should keep an open mind. You can say Tag, I don't like Tag, but automated grading, AI grading is here to stay, and it will be the future, and potentially the present as well.
All right, I'm sold, Jesse. Where do I get the affiliate link?
Yeah, well, I
put it out in tomorrow's video.
Yeah, we should start pumping, shilling every day. But yeah.
And then everyone can say NostalgiaNomics obviously got paid off by Tag.
Yeah. Well, again, like when you see the affiliate links, like it's very transparent, like who is an affiliate, because you have to talk about it, disclose it in your video, and have a link down below. Right. So we've never paid a single person other than the affiliates that have an affiliate link below their videos.
Right.
So that's all I'm going to say about that. Would Tag consider being a publicly traded company with more transparent with earnings and revenue? Of course. I mean, that's a goal in the future. As one of the exit strategies is the IPO for every company. You're assuming that PSA isn't going to adapt and implement automated grading. Like I said, if they do, it's great. But for anyone that's run companies and invested in companies before, it's not as simple as you think. Because for a company like PSA, same reason why Blockbuster didn't pivot when Netflix was coming up. Because you can't just, like, if you have 1,000 graders, you can't just fire them all and start automated grading, because the union? You're gonna get sued. And frankly, what's not broken, like, don't fix it. Like that's what all of these big companies think, and it's a lot tougher for them to pivot as you think, because usually by the time they realize and start pivoting is a little bit too late. And that's why there's new companies that disrupt industries always come up and replace the older companies. I'm not saying, again, PSA is going to get replaced. It might happen, it might not. But even if there is a way for them to implement automated grading, they've been doing the R&D since 2013. And there's, I think, 200 patents or something. So it's not as easy as you think to get into the space as PSA, BGR, CGC. That's why they've been trying to like reach out to TAG and try and license or acquire the technology. And they've already tried, right? So it's not as easy as you think.
That's just general point too. The bigger the machine gets, the harder it is to turn, right?
Yeah.
Stuff's a real lean, brand new. You can move all different directions, try a million things. And that's, yeah, I agree. It's just why these big companies have such a hard time changing.
Yeah. So it's not as easy as people think. You brought this up before. Small companies are agile and able to move a little bit more than larger companies. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Should we just open the floor up for a couple more questions for Alex before we go? I mean, it's an excellent discussion. We covered so many topics. I think this is probably the best episode so far.
No way. Appreciate that, man. I had a great time.
Yeah, you brought your A game today, Alex.
Well, maybe we can bring you guys on me and Pokey Plumbers podcast sometime.
Oh, that'll be great. I watch every episode.
Oh, big shout out to Connor.
If you guys are down, we can do that in the future.
Yeah,
Wait,
for
isn't
sure.
Nick getting his own YouTube channel?
Apparently, he's been saying that for months, though. So I told him I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
So,
apparently, he's told me he went out and got like a computer and camera and microphone. So I guess he's serious this time.
Rufus asks, do you guys think it's too late to get Obsidian Flames booster boxes, or should I get some under MSRP?
Is Obsidian Flames that expensive now?
How much is it? I mean,
I think they are getting MSRP. I believe they're just at MSRP right now because the shop sells them for around MSRP. Let me see.
Wow, TCG's up to 190.
Wow. We need to change our prices.
Yikes. And they are selling, it looks like. I don't know. I mean, how confident are you guys about these earlier sets getting a reprint? I mean, they're getting close to 2 years old.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very good indication of whether or not sets getting reprinted is whether or not the cards are out of rotation competitively. And people don't really look at that as collectors and investors, but that's a really important thing. I believe
so would that be next April then? Yeah,
the next after next April, I don't think any of these sets will get reprinted because Pokemon Company is still it's a TCG. They still make their decisions based on players and not collectors and investors. So a very good indication is whether or not that, like, if it's past the rotation period, I don't think they will ever reprint it. But now I still believe it still has the shot of reprinting it. But the Pokemon has their hands full with the next 4 or 5 sets. If it does come a reprint, it's not going to be a large one that people expect that will make a huge change in the market price. So, I think if it does, it's highly unlikely it will make any difference or a huge difference.
I was going to say, take that. I like that question.
Yeah. Do we start buying Japanese promo trophies now that the prototype people shook? Does that make guaranteed legit promo cards more sought after moving forward?
So I have a lot of insight on this because I'm like kind of the target audience for these trophies and illustrators and things like that. So there are so many extra copies that came out of Akabane's basement in the last 2-3 years. I was very close to buying PSA 9 Illustrator when Zach was here in December of 2023. That was when the illustrators first started popping off. And then I heard from multiple people that Akabane had like 53 in his basement when people thought there was only 39 total copies ever awarded. So he had tons of extra copies of illustrators. He had tons of extra copies of the trophies. Again, I don't think these are like printed in 2023 or 24. They were just copies that he got back in the day. And I heard from a reliable inside source that Akabane told them that even the illustrators and the trophies, they came in like batches of 100. So they had like 39 that was released into the public, and then Akabane just kept the rest. So there's a lot more of these cards out there than people realize that's on the pop report. So in my opinion, it's better to keep it simple, stupid, and invest in your favorite set cards. Like the no rarities, the first edition base, the
Yes.
gold
So
stars.
you're
crystal.
actually more of a fan of set cards than the trophy type cards.
Yeah, I've always been more of a fan of the set cards. I'm a collector first. Like most of my collection, I will never sell, even though I'm an investor in like sealed product and stuff. I like collecting stuff that I wanted as a kid, but my mom would never buy me, right? Again, it's that scarcity mindset. So everything that I buy right now is the mentality of like, hey, I wanted this card as a kid. I wanted this card as a kid. So I'm just fulfilling like my childhood dreams. And when I was a kid, I hate to say it, I never cared about a Pikachu Illustrator. I never cared about the first Pika trophy. I never cared about Secret Super Battle. Never cared about a Kangaskhan trophy. To me, I wanted the gold stars. I wanted the first at base Zards. I wanted the first edition Lugias, right? Like
I didn't know any of those existed till I watched SM Pratt.
yeah. You see how crazy the swirl is? You see the swirl?
Yeah.
Right by the
It's
mouth.
like an
Yeah.
arrow blast attack.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice, man.
Intense.
So these are the cards that I always wanted. And I think we should just go back to the collecting basics and stop trying. Like
Yeah.
FOMO drives you to, it's like, oh, I want to buy that piece of Pokemon history. But I believe Akabane and his actions have tainted that side of the market so much where I personally probably wouldn't touch it in the next couple of years. Things might change, normalize. Akabane will go into jail, and every single one of these things that he owned will be put on the market, and we know there's no more coming. That's probably the time to buy these Japanese trophies, but I wouldn't touch them now. I would just focus on the set cards. And in general, just focus on the cards that you love as a kid or you want to collect, and not so much about the value for these slabs. Because if you were to invest, these vintage slabs wouldn't outperform the modern day booster box cases. So yeah,
I'll
just
be honest.
buy what you want.
I like hearing you say that because I'm in complete agreement with you. But
Yeah.
you know, for someone like you to say that, you know, with obviously your net worth and everything you have in Pokemon, it holds more weight because like when someone like me says that, even though like I you know, I'm doing better than some, I'm definitely not wealthy. And so it's like people will say, well, you're just saying that because you can't afford those cards. And it's like, no, I've always just would rather have set cards than just some card that you had to be at some certain event or win some tournament or, you know, won some contest. Like I would rather a card you get to pull out of a pack. Like, and so it's cool hearing other people like high-end collectors say the same thing.
Yeah, it's just like obviously the hobby's for everyone. For people that like those things, I totally understand as well the historical aspect of it. But for me, I never like I grew up in California, you know, like I never had access to those things or saw those things on the news or the newspaper or the magazines. So I don't have nostalgia for them. I love your channel name, NostalgiaNomics, because to me it's all about reconnecting with a simpler time, reconnecting with my childhood. So for me, the set cards were always what I wanted anyway. The only reason why I consider buying those cards is because of those like things that are not organic that I wanted to be. So what if this is the only one that exists? I want to get that. But now the ship is sailed. I really think for that market after Akabane and the fact that I know so much information, so much dirt on these things, I just probably wouldn't touch them at least in the next 2-3 years.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So do you think Akabane is still in Madagascar? Where did he run off to?
I heard he should be
he's on the run.
He's on the run. He's the real life Team Rocket, right? Like Poke-san, you can prove this, right? Because many people don't believe me, but I've been saying these prototypes are fake, and Akabane is the biggest villain for 6-8 months, right? Since the beginning, we talk a lot.
Since the beginning. Oh yeah. Definitely one of the few that would actually say something like in that, and you were right.
I told Jen Mint this. I told everyone, and they all are like, "How dare you say it? Akabane is one of the founding fathers of Pokemon." I was like, "Yeah, but he's still a human being, and he benefits from these things being real. So the fact that he tells you they're real, it doesn't mean that much to me, right?"
Let's pivot a little bit, and thank you so much for the super chat. Anthony Martinez asked, what if they never reprint prismatic surprise boxes? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, I know it's a pretty scarce box. Everyone I talked to with distribution didn't get many of them. I know those everyone's really about because they are stamped, right? The cards in there are stamped. There's a stamp on them. I know everyone's about like the stamped promo type things. No. I don't know, man. Like they may perform better than like a regular product. Like they may perform better than like an ETB or like a, you know, whatever, a binder collection or something like that. I don't know how much better, but yeah, if they're that scarce and don't get reprinted, and the cards, kind of go on their own, have their own life, and they're really expensive in tens and things, it could definitely drive the price of the surprise boxes, I think.
I personally don't like the product. I heard somebody say these are the English equivalent to the poncho boxes. I think that's such a bad take. So I didn't really know what these things are until my wife got them at the shop on release day, and we just opened one. And we're like, yeah, well, this is a surprise box for sure, because I thought there would be more things in it, right? It's a big ass box. And then you have a little pouch with 4 packs and like 1 promo. I thought the promo would be like a really cool, like different artwork of the evolutions, but no, it's just like the regular EX with the stamp on it.
They got
Man, like, I don't understand. Yeah, exactly. It's so lazy.
Hey, do not underestimate the power of a stamp in this hobby.
Yeah, but people are tripping over themselves and punching people in the face to get this box. Man, I don't get it, man. Like, there's so many better products you can get for like 3-4x MSRP. I think it's ridiculous.
One other question by Limited GIF. Pokemon knows 30th anniversary hype is coming, so there's no excuse for not printing enough before that time. Opinions on that?
I don't know. I don't have any inside info. I don't have a big enough distributor account to like have any inside info with distributors or about what Pokemon's doing. And so like it's all just speculation if I give any opinion at all. So I really don't know what they're doing with the printing, if they should be printing more, if they can print more. I have no clue what's happening with the behind the scenes, man.
We can ask your magic 8-ball, Alex.
I know. I need to get that down here. Perfect 8-ball question.
Yeah. I think well, you can look at like historical comparables to kind of gauge what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years, because a similar market condition was happening in 2020 and 2021, and they really ramped up printing. Like I said, there's usually a 3 or 6 month lag, because these companies can't just all of a sudden decide to print more tomorrow and it just fucking happens, because these printing facilities, they're always operating at max capacity, even the ones that Pokemon owns, because they're printing other stuff if they're not printing Pokemon. So they have to finish printing the other stuff first. And in my opinion, in the next I think the next 2 years, they'll print a lot like they did in the Sword and Shield era, where Shining Fates got printed to the ground, Hidden Fates got printed to the ground. They printed a lot of Darkness Ablaze, a lot of Vivid Voltage, actually a lot of the later Sword and Shield sets. But you know what? Because the hobby has organically grown to so much bigger than it was in 2020 to 2021, I do think long term it's going to be okay. But in 26, later 26, 27, 28, we're going to go through the same cycle as we did in 2022 and 23. And people are going to be like, Armageddon, like Pokemon sucks. No one wants it. It's over. It's never, like Logan Paul destroyed the market. It's always going to be going down. And it's going to feel like that. Just like how people are saying everything's going to the moon. People are still in denial to say that the Moonbreon is still a good buy at $3,000. So it's going to repeat itself, and I do think Pokemon will print a lot of these sets into the ground, and one of these sets will turn into the Shining Fates or the Vivid Voltage or Darkness Ablaze of 2025. So you got to be really careful with buying like new product at the crazy prices, because like I said, they're going to print a lot of them, and if one of them underperforms, so my hypothesis is going to be one of the next 2 main series sets, whether it's Journey Together or the new Team Rocket set. I feel like one of them will become somewhat like Vivid Voltage, where people are super hyped at the beginning and then forget about it for 3 years. And you just gotta be really careful when buying. And it's against my best interest to say it as a shop owner, because most shop owners will want you to buy. But I think people can chill a little bit and start buying the stuff that's already out of print, or the stuff that you actually enjoy ripping, and not seeing everything as an investment play because of the ramping up of the printers that's inevitably happening in the next 6 months.
I will say, speaking of printing, with Rufus in the chat saying
oh my God,
Journey Together, I literally just clicked on Pokemon Center. I got a big message. I didn't even get to the front. Yeah. Hi, trainer. Thank you for visiting. We're experiencing unusual high traffic. You're currently in line to enter Pokemon Center. I can't even get on the website. I'm in line.
Everybody go to Pokemon Center and scalp some Journey Together.
Oh my gosh.
You can't even log on the whole site. The entire site is keeping you in a line. This is ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're cooked, Alex Ketchum.
We
Definitely.
are cooked.
We are cooked. Are we
So
cooked? We're
yeah.
cooked, Alex. Man.
Journey Together allocations has been pretty abysmal too, from my understanding.
Yeah. Journey Together. We haven't gotten our numbers yet. And again, like Canadians have the short end of the stick. We always get our allocations like 2 weeks before release, and then we pay more, we get less. But I know that Canadian, like US LGSs that are bigger already got their allocations, but I've been saying this for a long time. Do not buy any pre-orders from shops like 2 or 3 months before release, because they're literally just using your money as an interest-free loan, and none of them know their numbers yet, unless it's from like PokeNE and one of these trusted sellers that have a proven track record to fulfill your orders no matter what the market
He's
price
not that
is.
trusted.
He got burned bad with Prismatic Evolution having to buy the pre-orders that he wasn't able to fulfill, unfortunately. But big ups to him for, you know, coughing up the extra money.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But
he's doing it right.
Even him, like, I would say, like, if I were him, I would never put out pre-orders. We don't put out pre-orders because we don't need the capital. But like, so many people asked us, we're like, hey, we like, once we get the numbers, like, we will run some sort of a raffle and shop for people to get them, because that's how in demand. And we don't want people punching and stepping over each other at CJ shop, my wife. So like, there's no point in pre-ordering in this market for LGSs unless you need the capital, I think.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to go about it, with the demand.
Yeah.
And lack of products from distribution, and distribution possibly holding products anyways. It's
Journey Together is officially sold out again.
What? Is it actually?
I just got on the site. Everything shows sold out.
Oh my goodness. Wait, so do you have to refresh?
Give me the option to add to cart. I'm gonna try it.
Wait, do I need to refresh it? Wait, is this live scalping on our PokeSMP channel?
I've been refreshing, but I'm still in line, and I'm actually in, but I doubt I will.
It's all gone.
Oh well. Do not refresh. Well, I've been sitting here refreshing, and
don't refresh. Or refresh. I refreshed and got blocked. Oh.
You know what this makes me want to do? This makes me want to get on Reddit and complain about this hobby.
Hey, it's the investor's fault. It's this guy, Alex NostalgiaNomics' fault. You know.
Whose fault?
Oh my gosh, just like that, in 2 minutes, all gone. Journey Together. This is how crazy this Pokemon market is. I mean,
did you refresh? Because I didn't refresh and it's still putting me in line.
I refreshed 5 times. I didn't get blocked, but I just got told everything got sold out. So my attempt was for nothing. But
I actually think Journey Together might be around MSRP, so I think people can chill a little bit.
I agree. I think it's gonna get close. I think it's gonna get back there by release. I think I know P Football Pete. I think it was someone shared me. If you buy like in quantity boxes from him, it's already down in like the low 180s, I think.
Wow.
So I think by release, it'll be back to MSRP or less.
Yeah. Our shop probably will sell it MSRP, but people don't realize, like you said, how much MSRP is. So even if you do sell MSRP, they think you're scalping. You know, so my wife CJ and I just released, she decided to sell all of our blooming waters at MSRP. Because to help the community, literally for nothing else. So she sold them at $62 USD, which is MSRP. And then we got a ton of comments saying you're scalping because Costco charges like 50 or something. I mean,
can't win.
Just like don't even know what to say. Like, what do you mean we're scalping? Like, are we supposed to give it to you for free? Like, what's going on?
You're supposed to give it away for free, Jesse.
Yeah, I know. We get a lot for free.
People love
NostalgiaNomics scalp the Pokemon Center site. We cause a crash.
We caused it right here on the podcast. Scalponomics.
Yeah, Scalponomics and Scalp and P. All right. Should we just do like one more question? Like pick one more question.
Yes.
Before we go back to scalping. Everything I do, I'm gonna say it's scalping from now on. You know, I went to a grocery store, I scalped some watermelons, you know, I scalped some Bitcoin. Everything is a scalp now. Like that word is so overused.
I mean,
in the
you're
hobby.
definitely scalping eggs right now. If you have eggs, they've been scalped.
Oh wow,
right.
the PCETBs were up too. That's crazy.
Wow, that's insane. Okay, we'll pick one more question for all of us to answer, and then we'll call it a day.
I think there was a question about what are your favorite Pokemon?
Okay, let's just answer that one. I'd like to hear Alex's answer.
I'm
Yeah.
a Gen 1 guy, guys. So for me, it's always going to be Mewtwo. I don't care how many more Pokemon they create. Mewtwo's always going to be the best and strongest.
Or not the biggest fan of? That's
Okay.
actually the actual question. What's your least favorite?
My least favorite? I don't even think I know. I don't think I could come up with all the Pokemon created in my head to pick a least favorite. Here, how about this? Garbodor. Creating Pokemon out of literal garbage and selling it to kids. They're selling kids garbage.
Yeah. So I think for me, well, everyone knows my favorite is Suicune. I think I'm the biggest Suicune collector in the world. I try and collect all the highest grades of every Suicune.
Just brings you back to Crystal version.
Yeah, that's my favorite game. And when I was a kid, I remember my mom was like, "You're allowed to play 1 hour a week," and then she hid my Game Boy Advance in, like under her pillow or something. So I remember every week I was looking forward to seeing my Suicune and just battling with him, even though he wasn't so good in the game. But yeah, Suicune is definitely my favorite. Oh, by the way, with the Mewtwo thing, I don't know if you've seen this, but we are working with Steph Curry to like on multiple projects, and one of them is he did a Year of the Snake Chinese New Year drop. So we were with him a little bit earlier, and his favorite Pokemon is Mewtwo. So I'm
casually
right
hanging
now.
out with Steph Curry.
Well, not casually, but we have business, right? But basically, his favorite Pokemon is Mewtwo, and right now I'm preparing a binder. Well, this is getting out there, but I don't think you'll see it. But for his birthday this year, I'm gonna build a binder with every English Mewtwo card ever printed and give it to him for his 37th birthday. So that'll be pretty cool. There's a lot of people that love Mewtwo. He actually had a custom card from Canvas Marketing. So this is how we got connected. His cousin Will has this company that creates these cards, and we work together as tag with Canvas Marketing. He actually created a card with Steph called Mew 3, called Steph Curry's Mew 3, because that was apparently a Pokemon that Steph designed when he was a kid. Mew 3, because he loved Mewtwo so much. So you're not the only one. A lot of people love Mewtwo. My least favorite. Oh man,
That's hard, right?
yeah. I would say like I've always thought of Pokemon as like animals and anything that's not like a living organism, I absolutely hate. Like the Pokedex Pokemon, like the Chandelure, like ice cream Pokemon, just like stuff that's not like a living organism, like Garbodor for sure. It just didn't make sense to me, and it kind of contradicts with my Pokemon worldview. So, oh, and Walking Wake, because he destroyed my elegant favorite Pokemon Suicune. Like he turned into this weird looking raptor. You know, he's supposed to be elegant and majestic, but for some reason they decided to turn him into like this weird looking raptor thing. So that's probably my least favorite.
Yeah, I would say my least favorite is a Stunfisk, that poop looking fish that I just don't have a big, I don't know, I don't have any good response to it when I look at it. So my favorite Pokemon would be either the Umbreon or the Espeon. They're pretty much on the same level. And I've always loved evolution since the very beginning. And that's those two are my favorites.
Well, I guess this day and age is working out very nice for you then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Umbreon hype.
Hey, you started shilling Umbreon first. It's Pokesun's fault.
I don't remember. I mean, I've been Pokemon a long time. I never remember this level of craze over Umbreon. Umbreon's always been loved, but this is another level.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So before we go, I wanted to talk about my theory and my wife's theory coming up, because I've talked about this in our last podcast about how I remember Umbreon being like a tier 2, tier 3 Pokemon growing up. Like I see tier 1 as Charizard and Pikachu and Eevee probably, right? Like those three guys. like specifically Charizard and Pikachu and TCG, like are above everybody because mascots and the most popular Pokemon in Gen 1. And then tier 2, you got like the Lugias, the Rayquazas, maybe Mew, Mewtwo, Gengar. Umbreon's like in that batch. It didn't stand out. Like there's no way it created any separation from that second group. I would maybe put it slightly below that too. And then there is like a very distinct difference in how people perceive Umbreon now. I think I separated into pre and post Evolving Skies era, and Umbreon separated itself from everybody, and it's actually way more popular than Charizard now because we did that experiment with like Gemma and a bunch of people at the card show we hosted in Vancouver, where we gave like a first tournament trophy Pikachu and an Umbreon and a Moonbreon. We showed it to like 20 different kids.
I saw that.
And 18 of them picked the Moonbreon. And I told them, I was like, yo, all these kids are going to pick the Moonbreon. I don't care how much the other card is worth. And they were like, shut up, Jesse. There's no way. We did that experiment and all the kids picked the Moonbreon. So to the kids, the Umbreon is the new Charizard. But my hypothesis is because Charizard right now in the TCG, I hate to say it, no one cares about Charizard anymore. People had Charizard fatigue. They overdid the Charizard with the evolutions, with the Shining Fates, with Hidden Fates, with Darkness of like they overdid it, right? So people don't really care about Charizard to the fact where I think maybe Charizard is a little bit underrated now because the Brilliant Star Charizard is gorgeous. I think that's not worth too much. The Obsidian Flame Charizard is easy to pull, looks beautiful. Powder Face Charizard, I think that's really beautiful. No one talks about it. I think Umbreon fatigue will set in very soon because I'm kind of getting tired of it. Looking at the Prismatic and Terrestrial, I mean, I think the cards look cool, but if they keep doing this evolution thing, like evolution was popular before, but it's not like the way that it is now, right?
Right.
They kind of are overdoing it, and one of the new Pokemons will come out and dethrone Umbreon, just like how Umbreon dethroned Charizard in the TCG. So we were talking about it. We're like, what is the new canon? What's the new Pokemon? What is like the next thing that people are going to pump and chill? And then my wife brought up the fact that the reason why Umbreon was so unique and it became the new Charizard is because it's both cute and cool. So it appeals to both sexes and it appeals to the general public because Charizard, Rayquaza, Lugia, they're all cool Pokemon. They're not cute. Pikachu is only cute. He's not really cool, right? So if you think about it from that direction, I think Mewtwo and Mew are probably going to be like the next one that's going to come up and take over the throne, specifically Mew, because Mew is also super cute and it's a Gen 1 Pokemon that everybody likes. And you can see what the Bubble Mew is doing in the market. So one of the things that people don't really talk about is moving forward, what is going to be the next Umbreon? I think Mew and Mewtwo are the next candidates.
That's very fair.
What are your thoughts?
I like it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. But all right. Anyways, I think it's great. In my opinion, it's probably the best podcast and discussion episode we've ever had.
Yeah.
It's great to have another bright mind on the podcast like Alex.
Sure.
And
Sharp.
yeah, to close it off, I just want to reiterate that we're all on the same team here, guys. Stop yelling and getting mad at investors. Whether you're an investor, you're a business owner, you're a reseller, you're a scalper, everybody. Nobody wants the market to be where it's at right now. We want product to be more available, more affordable, so people aren't yelling at everyone and elbowing people in the face. So yeah, let's yeah, we're on the same team here. Be nice to each other.
100%. Yeah. Let's all go back to having fun.
Yeah.
Have some fun.
It's cardboard at the end of the day.
Yeah. We're so fortunate to be in the position to be able to enjoy cardboard like the way that we do now. And if you don't enjoy it anymore, just take a 6-month break and come back when it calms down a little bit. It will calm down. So yeah, stop getting mad. Just do some other stuff first.
Yeah, we can all coexist.
Yeah. All right.
And honestly,
thank you so much,
my fellow content creators. I've even done that before. Like, if content's not fun anymore, like take a couple weeks or a month off content if it's causing you that much anger, frustration. I mean, it's kind of how anything in life is, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks for coming on, Alex. And we look forward to talking with you more and potentially coming on your guys' podcast. You know, it's been great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you all so much for your time.
And
Until next time. Bye, everybody.
follow and subscribe to Alex.
Yes.
NostalgiaNomics. All right. Bye-bye, guys. All right.